Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Please welcome my guest this afternoon, Shizukou. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome on in, Shizukou. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's 1 p.m. for you. It's about 7 a.m. for me here in the U.S. Like I said, a little bit earlier, but I've been looking forward to this, so plenty of energy. I'm really excited. I know who you are. I get the feeling that most people in chat know who you are, but for anyone who might be watching who isn't, if you could introduce yourself.
My name is Shizukou, and I'm a British panda VTuber from the UK, of course. And I don't break games, and I am married to games, so I'm sorry.
Yes, lots of questions of who's this, who's Shizukou, what is Shizukou, British, question mark? As always, like we said before we went live, send in the clowns.
They're always clowning all the time. I see you guys. I see that.
We do, but we love them. That I never invite people on my show unless I'm actually familiar with their content, familiar with their community, that I've been in chat when I can. That like I mentioned, you broadcast usually a little bit earlier than I'm able to tune in, but I always try and make what I can. And I've known for a while that I wanted to have you on, was sort of looking for the right opportunity. And I'm really glad that things lined up today. I honestly wasn't sure if you were going to be available, being New Year's Eve and all, but thank you so much for being here. And I welcome your community and thank you all for the follows. Actually, let me get a quick read through of those, because there were a good number actually that came in during the starting soon screen. We've got Shizukou's Apostle, unsurprising there. Royce 2, Nary 21, Woomsy, Hunter VN, Fours VT, Kunchengho, I hope I pronounced that right, Bayray Games, Codels, Darrenicus, OMQ Comics, and Byakuya VT. Thank you all so much for the follows. But oh my, yes, the clowns are here, and they are literally popping off with the Shizu Pop emote. That's a very fun one. But you've had a busy week. You definitely have not been, on vacation or anything lately, looking forward to the new year. You had a delightful sponsored stream earlier in the week with Waifu Generator. I'd never actually seen that before. That seemed like a lot of fun.
Oh my god, I love using that website. I actually used to use the original version, and when they contacted me about this new version, I was super duper excited because, I've never seen it adapt even further than what it currently does, which is, an AI that kind of creates its own artwork. So it's not from images that they kind of generate. It's something that the AI kind of paints themselves. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I didn't actually submit anything for the little tier list that you did, but I used it for a little while, tinkered around, and saw just, it's a really powerful AI. Hashtag I'm not sponsored over here, but, it's such a fun, different thing that I'd never actually seen before. And it seemed like you were having a lot of fun, and certainly your community was as well, being able to get in on all of that.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciated all the participation in that. So thank you guys. But I'm sorry if I offended some of you.
Yes, many hot takes there.
I'm still confident though.
By the way, chat, I forgot to mention it during the intro, but if there's anything that you need me to change in terms of audio levels, I think I've got them where they need to be, but let me know if I'm coming in too hot, if Shizu's coming in too quiet, or if the music's overwhelming or anything like that. But yeah, gosh, I don't even know where to start, really. That we have New Year, obviously. Well, for starters, do you have anything planned for the New Year's, whether it be tonight or tomorrow, just celebrating? Obviously, going out right now is not very much an option for many people, but do you have anything fun planned with friends, even if it's just, a casual online get-together?
I'll probably just play some games or something like that with friends. Normally what I do for New Year's isn't very special, to be honest. I just kind of sit at home with my family, and we wait for the YouTube live of London fireworks or something like that. But this year, staying at home by myself and probably just playing games. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any games sort of lined up, ones that you play on your own that it's not on stream, something that you sort of say for yourself?
Apex Legends.
Oh, yep. Well, there you go. There you go.
It's
Yeah, well,
just
actually,
such a good game.
in the chat called it APOG all night.
APOG always.
There you go. Also, welcome in, Lex. Yes, I see you doing very good work with moderating over on Shizu's channel and some other channels as well. Busy person.
Oh my god. Pepe business.
So, obviously, you play a lot of games. You're a variety streamer. You've been hopping all over. You had Ori and the Blind Forest yesterday. You had the waifu generator one, like I mentioned the other day. Are there any games in particular, or rather, you had mentioned to me that Ubisoft games in particular are ones that you really enjoy, but of the rather extensive list of games that they've put out, are there any that are just sort of, top tier for you? Any S tier, as it were?
I really do enjoy Assassin's Creed and Far Cry a lot. I was kind of disappointed with the latest Assassin's Creed. I think chat knows about that already. It kind of felt like the story was dissolving into something else rather than how the original Assassin's Creed games were. But my favorite of all time would be Assassin's Creed 4, which is Black Flag. It
Black
involves
Flag, yeah,
pirates and
that was the
stuff.
Pirates one, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
pirates
man.
are always awesome.
Mhm. It's funny you mentioned that, so prior to obviously the last couple of years, one thing that I did was I was really involved in a lot of live event production, and I was part of a promotion actually for Assassin's Creed Black Flag at San Diego
Ooh.
Comic-Con. It would have been at that point, I think it would have had to have been summer 2014, I think is when it came out. But for San Diego Comic-Con, Ubisoft actually brought in to the San Diego Bay, they rented out an entire ship that is designed to be a pirate ship and is used for events and parties and whatnot. And they skinned it out. They got a custom flag, which had,
No
the
way.
giant Assassin's Creed logo. They had demos going on for it. So basically, instead of, well, actually, I think it was in addition to having a booth on the show floor that just outside of the convention center, literally at the dock, that you could walk up and go on this actual pirate ship as part of the promotion. And that game, for that reason, has a very special place in my heart as well, because it represents that special memory. For you, what made the game stand out so much?
I think it's just the fact that it had such a big world, because at the time, open world games weren't really such a big thing, but also just being able to explore the ocean, which is somewhere we don't really delve with, right? Especially in video games, being able to do something like that was kind of new, and just seeing the wildlife within the water as well. Like there was whale hunts and stuff like that, right? And I don't know, I just really enjoyed exploring.
And I suppose the fact that you can explore, obviously, on a ship is something that you don't really get in every game. That, in all the Assassin's Creed games, you're going to be able to jump off buildings, you're going to be able to do your assassinations. But in terms of seafaring, that's a much rarer thing. And there have been a couple of big piracy seafaring games that have come out since that, gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now, but it came out a couple years after Black Flag, and I can't help but think that Black Flag helped influence it a bit. Chad, if you all are having a better memory than me, please remind me of the game that I'm thinking of. But, like I said, seafaring isn't really a common thing in games, so I can see where that would stand out for you. Sea of Thieves, thank you. Thank you very much, Darnikis. When you play, do you have any particular either styles or builds that you go to? That, admittedly, I have not played many Assassin's Creeds. That I played through the first one, and it's just not a franchise I kept up with. I know a lot of people hold it near and dear, just not my particular style. But for you, is there anything that you really look forward to in each game, or just a way that you've found that you play?
I think the main thing that I like to do is normally wield swords. And I know that's super basic of like the original Assassin's Creed games. It's like the default weapon they would give you. I don't really like to use lances or axes, for example, which they're trying to do now. Unfortunately, the new game didn't have any swords whatsoever, so it wasn't really that enjoyable for me in terms of battles and stuff like that. But I think just having swords, but also doing stealth missions, I really enjoy stealth, even though you might say I'm bad at it, but I enjoy it.
Well, the classics are classics for a reason, so no shame in liking swords. And like you said, that's really where the series has its bread and butter. So it makes sense that that would be one of the things that you'd enjoy, and that frankly the game would do well. And same thing with the stealth missions that uh, obviously Assassin's Creed was not the first franchise to do stealth, but it is certainly one that helped bring it into, I would say, the modern era of gaming, and has helped really establish it, honestly, as an entire subgenre.
Definitely, for sure. I think because of Assassin's Creed, I've kind of explored more games to do with stealth. So, like, for example, the Hitman game, right? I remember
Mhm.
that was a big thing. And I saw like meme posts as well of the gameplay and the bugs that happened. I really enjoy game bugs a lot. That's probably another reason why I like Ubisoft.
Well, I suppose that there is a point where bugs can become features. When I think of Assassin's Creed and bugs, Unity is the one that comes to mind. That there was this. I remember seeing the images of these grotesque faces that were not rendering on the characters. It was one that it had some extra bumps along the way following its release. I'm guessing you recall that one as well?
Um, for me personally, Unity, I didn't have any problems with. It might be because I played it on console rather than on PC. But
Mm.
for the face rendering issue, I actually did encounter that in the latest one.
Oh, no, it's still around?
It's still around. It looks so creepy. I remember there was clips of that actually. It's super duper creepy to look at. I don't like it.
Yeah, by day, I actually do some QA work for a mobile game developer, so while I may rag on Ubisoft a little bit, I do still sympathize with them and their team, and that there's so many things that can possibly go wrong, especially in a game of those sizes, that it doesn't matter how many people you have on your team, how many hours they put into it. As soon as the game is live, the number of human hours played in the first 24 hours of a game like that's release is probably going to exceed the amount of human hours put into the testing process, just in terms of sheer volume of people that end up playing the game right away. And well, law of large numbers, people are going to find the bugs, and even the ones that were missed by the team. So I do feel a bit bad for them, but at least it gives us some funny stories.
Definitely. I have so many experiences with Assassin's Creed in terms of bugs. And the one thing that I enjoy about bugs the most is the kind of shock factor that comes with them. Like, you don't expect them
Oh, yeah.
to happen, right? But when it does happen, it's pretty funny.
And everyone feels like a discovery. It's, oh, wow, has anyone else encountered this? And hopefully it's just a visual bug. It's not something game breaking, because, you know, crashes are never funny. But
Yeah.
if it's, all right, this thing didn't render properly, or this person is now standing on the ceiling, that's at least, amusing, and you can roll with it, hopefully, probably.
Definitely.
Were there any bugs that stick out to you apart from those facial rendering ones?
I've had a lot of bugs. I've had situations where a bird will get stuck inside a wall. That's Assassin's Creed as well. I've had situations where birds are just stuck inside buildings. Um, face rendering, of course, and then like dead bodies just flipping out, even though they're dead already. That's a lot.
Byakuya in the chat says that you dropped off the map in Valhalla.
Oh yeah, that happened. I also got stuck with an NPC, right? I remember that. Oh
Oh
god.
no. And you said that Valhalla, sadly, was not your favorite in the series. Was there a reason that that particular installation didn't do it for you?
There was a lot of issues with it, honestly. I felt like the story dragged on for way too long. A lot of us, including some of you in chat as well, we kind of forgot what the story was, right? There's also situations such as the ending where the story officially ended, but there was no credit scene whatsoever, which you would expect.
What?
There was no credits. None.
Well, I feel bad kind of for the people who worked on it, that, you know, they work really hard and the credits are supposed to be their moment. I hope the credits were put somewhere in the game. I would assume so, but, you know, that's one of the things that I look forward to, that the credit roll, that even if it's not necessarily super eventful, it feels like that sort of victory lap that, you know, you get to hear usually a full arrangement of the game's themes, maybe look back on some of the different locales that you've played through, and that it's just, all right, I did the thing. But you're saying for this one, it just sort of, I guess, did it drop you back at the last save point or reload, or how did it go if they didn't have the credits?
It's even worse. They just kind of left you where you were.
What? Oh, that's underwhelming. At least give me a celebration screen. Come on.
Yeah, I was just like, this is it. What? There's nothing else. Like, what is this? Am I getting scammers? Like, what's going on?
Why is Chad talking about cat murder?
Oh, we don't talk about that.
They certainly do.
It's something that happened in Assassin's Creed. I went into a building, and there's this one thing with this game. I don't know what it is. They have pots filled with oil, and as soon as you hit them, you don't even have to shoot them with a gun or anything like that. As soon as you hit them physically, they just kind of light on fire and explode. And I accidentally hit one while I was trying to pet some cats.
Oh no.
It's fine. I died anyway, so they respawned. It's okay.
There you go. And apparently you may have done this to some cows as well. Goodness. Like, this is a killer panda we got here.
That was an accident. I wanted to pet the cow, and it kind of just ran into a fire. Not my fault.
Oh dear. Ugh. You know, you break pots in Legend of Zelda and things just break, and sometimes you get money for it. But apparently you break pots in Assassin's Creed and everything gets lit on fire.
Yeah. Pretty extreme, I know.
If you were able to talk with the design team and have input on the next Assassin's Creed game, is there anything in particular you would say, keep this, bring this back, don't do this?
Please bring back swords. I want swords. And also, I think I would like an Assassin's Creed game that is based in a different place. Because at the moment, most Assassin's Creeds have been based around Europe, right? I'd like to explore different kinds of places and like history in different kinds of countries and places like that. I think that would be really interesting too.
Yeah, I remember they had one that was based in the U.S. Revolution, if memory serves. That one was a while back, but I know that one was definitely a bit different in that it wasn't European-based. But yeah, I think that could be a really interesting approach for them of just, you know, going to those different eras in history. And fortunately, that does seem to be sort of their gimmick per game of, you know, where in history are we going next? But it's always that question of where and when.
Definitely.
You mentioned Far Cry, and there was the new game that came out this year. It was Far Cry 6. They had Giancarlo, why am I forgetting his last name? Esposito, I believe it was. Just the renowned actor, known a lot for his work on Breaking Bad and some other shows. I assume you played that one?
Yeah, I did.
Now, Valhalla was not to your liking, was Far Cry 6.
Far Cry 6, it was a lot better than I thought it would be. There were still some things that could be better, but I still think it was a solid game. It had a good story, a little bit short, but I enjoyed it a lot. And I know that they have a kind of Breaking Bad collaboration that's going on. I don't know if it's over yet, but it's pretty interesting that they tied that in because of the actor as well.
Yeah, that it's one of the things that we've been seeing really more in the past 5 years or so, the fact that now we're able to actually have star power in video games, that you're able to actually render in very convincing models of these known actors that memory serves, I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson is going to be in one of the upcoming Arc, I think. But that we now have this ability to actually have actors, quote unquote, in the games, and that they can sort of be themselves. And Giancarlo Esposito is a very well-known actor, like I mentioned, that I definitely like his performance, that he's known mostly for being a villain. So this one definitely seemed sort of, in character for him, very easy and approachable in terms of roles.
Definitely. I think he did a very good job in terms of his character in Far Cry 6. I really did enjoy the kind of enemy that he was supposed to be. It's really, really nice. I think that he did a really good job in terms of convincing us how bad he could be. If I was to watch something with him in it, I think I would associate him with the Far Cry 6 enemy,
If you could cast the next Far Cry villain, and it had to be somebody from, movies or TV, anything at all, but it has to be an existing actor because you're now part of the marketing team and we need to get a big name actor in, who would you cast?
Oh god, that's such a hard decision. I've seen so many villains. So many. I don't know who exactly I would go for. Maybe the guy who plays a certain character in Daredevil. Maybe I go for that guy.
Chat is nominating themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys
Chat,
are
the ultimate villain.
That would just be a clown wig, though. I just laugh at you.
Well, you have the Joker from Batman, so I guess maybe they're all with him?
Oh god, that would be quite creepy, actually.
All right, yeah, so, okay, I guess going from that, I would want Mark Hamill, who's actually known for playing the Joker in the games. He hasn't done it in the films, but obviously he's also known for being Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, but funny enough, has made his name playing villains in animation and games.
That seems like a good choice, actually. I think he's very based, isn't he?
Yes, indeed. For the Far Cry series, are there, any fun memories and experiences you had, whether it be in the most recent one or previous iterations? Just, it doesn't need to be bugs, but just proud moments or things that really stuck out to you?
Honestly, Far Cry is amazing for the amount of chaos that happens when you just turn around. There's been situations where I'm looking in the other direction and suddenly I hear explosions, shooting. I'm just like, what's going on? I run in and I just see the NPCs fighting each other with explosives and stuff. It's pretty interesting to kind of let the NPCs do their own thing and you just watch.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of yourselves for me. At least I don't need to bother with it. Yeah.
Oh god, it's so good.
A couple people in the chat are bringing up a fishing moment.
Oh my god. There was one situation where I was just casually fishing in Far Cry 6, which is like a new feature that they have in the recent games.
Hold on. Your audio just went garbly for a second.
Oh.
Try talking again. Let's make sure.
Hello?
Okay,
Is it good?
you're sounding good. Your model went a bit fuzzy. If this keeps up, I've seen this happen a couple of times with video. I can just start a new room and we'll go quiet for like a minute, but no big deal. But we'll keep at it for now, see if it resolves itself. Several people in chat saying, yes, Shizu broke the stream.
God damn it, guys. It's your fault. It's your fault.
Okay, there we go. I think that, so your audio's back, your visuals have cleared up. Fingers crossed, hopefully it stays that way.
Blaming chat always fixes the problem.
Yes, it does.
So this fishing moment, there's a new feature where they kind of let you do fishing now, and you can collect different kinds of fish from different locations within the map. And I was just casually fishing in this new spot because I haven't got the fish from that area yet. And while I'm minding my own business, I hear explosions. There's a helicopter shooting at me. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just fishing. And one of the NPCs from the helicopter decides to jump off to kind of get to me, but he forgets to use his parachute. And
Oh, that's
he
quite a
just
thing to
sort of
forget.
he sort of died on the spot. And there was an NPC that was coming with me, kind of on my team, that was shooting at the helicopter as well. And I used a kind of rocket launcher to just get rid of the helicopter.
Well, if it works, it works. How dare you interrupt my fishing?
So many events happen just by minding your own business. It's insane.
Well, I suppose at least for that one, it's supposed to be this, war-torn area, this area that's very unstable, both politically and militarily. So I guess it wouldn't be too crazy for, a helicopter to fly by and shoot at something. But, I've heard of people fishing illegally, but goodness, that seems a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit too much, but it's okay. I took care of them.
For Far Cry, is there any type of either approach that you would like to see for the future games, or ones that you feel you'd want to see make a comeback?
Honestly, I think that Far Cry is still doing a good job. Maybe just make the story a bit longer. It was kind of cut short a little bit. Some people were saying it was a bit cliche. For me personally, sometimes cliche is good. So for me, it wasn't that bad, but I think just having a longer storyline would be nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had mentioned earlier that you'll probably be playing Apex Legends. That is a game, once again, sadly, that I'm not actually super familiar with myself, that obviously I'm very much aware of Apex Legends. I don't think that anyone who calls themselves a gamer right now cannot be aware of it at the very least. But in that game, do you have any favorite characters or any favorite strategies, or even just a favorite group to team up with?
I usually play Lifeline a lot. Some people would say it is my main. I do like to play Bloodhound a lot as well, although I don't get much of an opportunity to play as him. Sorry, them. But I feel like Lifeline at the moment is pretty strong. She has an ability where she can call a care package, and before it would just be randomly generated loot, but currently they've updated it so that the loot is useful to your team. So if your team member needs, let's say, a better magazine than they currently have, then it will give you that. Or if you need better body armor, it will give you something that's better. So it's a lot more stronger than it used to be. So I like to play her a lot. Really useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, chat, will rag on you from time to time. They are a bunch of clowns, but they do seem to respect your abilities in Apex. Byaku was actually saying that you were apparently a sniper god.
I had a situation where I was actually streaming the game, and there was one person that just stood still for whatever reason, and I managed to double headshot them with a sniper, which was pretty fun. I didn't expect that to actually work though.
Ooh, standing still in a battle royale game, never a good idea.
Definitely not. You always have to wriggle around and, shake about and stuff. Normally when I'm getting shot at, I'm sliding, I'm jumping, I'm even moving my mouse around. So my point of view is just wriggling around as well, because that might help.
Any favorite stories or kills apart from that particular headshot?
Honestly, there's been so many situations where we've kind of clutched the game. There's been moments where 2 of our team members are down, and maybe I'm down some of the times, and then we'll just get a team member that randomly clutches the game. A lot of intense situations with Apex, but I really do enjoy the games a lot. It's pretty fun.
If you could design a new character, is there any either archetype or strategy element that you think isn't really covered right now?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I know that some of the characters kind of get inspiration from League of Legends characters, and you're probably gonna be like, my God, I thought you hate League. But you can kind of see the similarities with some of them. So maybe perhaps having a character inspired by another League character. I can't really think of anyone right now, but I know that Crypto, for example, is a character in Apex that does need a rework. At the moment, we have Apex Legends characters that can scan people and you can kind of see them on the map, or they can track certain enemies. Crypto was the original character that was supposed to do that, but at the moment he's very weak in terms of being able to do that. Other characters are always the better pick in terms of tracking people and things like that. For Crypto, the only way he can track people is by deploying his drone, and he can't move his drone at the same time that he's moving. So a lot of people have said that he might be able to get his drone to follow him while he's running around, maybe, or something like that, where he's more viable, basically.
Yeah. That even if I'm not particularly familiar with Apex, like I said, that I know, there's usually that type of situation, whether it be a fighting game or even like balance in Pokemon or what have you, where there's a particular character where they're supposed to do a thing, but they do not do their thing very well for one reason or another. And, we were just saying, standing still in Apex is a bad idea. So if their main mechanic of being able to track somebody is prerequisite on them not moving themselves, that feels pretty bad.
Yeah, a lot of the times Crypto people will normally die while they're using their drone. Actually, I don't think I've had a situation where a Crypto will die just by running around or something like that. Most of the time it's because they're hiding in a corner trying to use their drone.
Yeah, so the idea of them being able to move around with their drone definitely sounds like one potential option for making Crypto more viable there. Yeah.
Definitely.
You took a moment to rag on League of Legends. So did you play League of Legends at a time and have moved away from it? Or have you never played League of Legends and it's just something that you've sort of avoided?
I did play League of Legends a very long time ago. A lot of my friends kind of pushed me to play the game. I never knew what it was. And I did enjoy it when I first played it. It was really fun. A lot of, people know that you're supposed to just mute the chat just all the time. Never look at the chat. Because in the game, sometimes, people get heated while playing. I think one of the main reasons why I just stopped playing was because of a situation where, I don't know why, but League lets you match up with 4 other players that are completely pre-made. So they're already in their own lobby and then you're just kind of by yourself. And in that situation, I got mass reported by those 4 people for whatever reason. And League decided to suspend my account for 2 weeks. And at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to play anymore.
Yeah, that's not good. I can understand conceptually why you would want to do that. It's sort of the concept of, at amusement parks, you'll have a single rider line where if there's, 6 seats on a roller coaster car, that they'll have 5 people that are in a group, and then you have one person that comes in and fills in that last seat, and it means that that single person is able to get into the ride faster. That in this case, you're able to get matchmaking done faster because you have these individuals fill in slots. But as you saw there, it does mean that in the cases where you have people who are just either trolls or bad actors, that it means they are able to all just gang up and put in mass reports, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, an understandable circumstance for why you left League of Legends behind, for sure.
I feel like League of Legends does have a lot of potential. I know that they've made a nice new series called Arcane, and I did watch that. It was very, very enjoyable. I really enjoyed it a lot. There's also the mobile game now called Wild Rift, and apparently this one is a lot more balanced than their desktop game, just League of Legends. And I know I've played TFT before as well, and I really do enjoy TFT a lot. So they do have potential, but but I feel like the base League of Legends does need a lot of work.
Yeah. Kind of hard to believe that Riot is now this just gaming giant that was built on the back of a single game, which has never had, in technicality, a sequel. That League of Legends, I think it's now on year 10. If not, it's really close to it. And for the first 5, 6-ish years, that was all the company did. It was just League of Legends, and they became the number one esport in the world. And they eventually started getting more games, and they now have, branched out, and I think have probably about a half dozen different titles. But League still stands head and shoulders that is what I think they'll always be known for. And it is certainly impressive in its own right, but at the same time, League, there's a reason that it has some of the stigma. There's a reason that it has a lot of the notoriety and popularity as well. But obviously, when you get to be that big, there's going to be a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. It just comes with the space, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when Arcane was done, and I saw tweets from people saying that, oh, look, League of Legends Arcane, it was so good. The series was really, really good. I'm going to install the game. And then you'll see another tweet a few hours later being like, oh, no.
Yeah, that was a interesting couple of weeks that even as someone who isn't in the League community, I very much saw, because while I haven't seen Arcane myself yet, I've heard that it's one that I need to get around to, that you don't need to be a League fan to watch it, and that a lot of people picked it up and really enjoyed it. So naturally, they're going to want to install the game. And both people in and out of the community largely agreed that's a bad idea. I'm guessing that trolls also were out in full force there, preying on the new people who were installing. And, it's unfortunate when circumstances like that happen. But like I said, it sort of comes with the territory when you have a game that big.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of surprising, to be honest, how many games have been able to enter esports and stuff like that. I know a big surprise that I always bring up is Farming Simulator having an esports championship. A lot of people forget that that's a thing.
I didn't know they had a championship. That I'm familiar with Farming Simulator. I didn't know they actually had organized competitive play. That is incredible, frankly.
I'm not sure exactly what they do, but it is like a major, big tourney. And a lot of people watch it too. It's really surprising.
I have to assume that at least part of it is just for the irony of the fact that something like Farming Simulator shouldn't, by all rights, be something that is competitive, that is an esport. But, people will make anything they can competitive, whether it be via speedrunning, whether it be self-imposed challenges, like you have, Nuzlocke and whatnot for Pokemon. And I would guess that's sort of where it came into play for Farming Simulator. But then the fact that the company itself actually got on board and was like, okay, well, if you want to make this competitive, we'll sanction it. Here you go.
Yeah, for sure. There's actually a lot of different games now as well that kind of have that Dark Souls kind of difficulty to them as an option as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times when I'm streaming a new game, for example, chat will always say, you have to pick the hardest difficulty. It's just something that's really entertaining to watch, to experience. But also, I think having that reward after completing something so challenging, it kind of feels like a big relief in a way. But also the fact that you can wear a badge and say, I finished this game, or I did this on the hardest difficulty. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. And then from a content creation standpoint, obviously there is something to be said for Schadenfreude of just enjoying watching the streamer sort of bash their head against the wall and have difficulty. That yesterday you were playing Ori and the Blind Forest, and there was a running bet of whether or not you would complete an area before or after you hit 420 deaths.
Oh god, they always like to bet on my deaths, huh? And sometimes I think it's funnier when majority of people will doubt me or like bet against me, and then I actually beat the level in like less deaths or whatever, and then everyone's like, no, what have you done?
Yeah, that absolutely has to be the best of just, prove them wrong. But, I guess it is still a win-win situation for you that even if you lose, it's still good content in that case. And it's like, all right, fine, we hit 420 deaths, but there you go. It's 420 deaths worth of content and take your damn points.
It's really, really fun. Even if I die a million times on a video game, I think I'm a very patient person when it comes to stuff like this. Apart from Sekiro, but with any other game, I'm just very patient when it comes to deaths or anything like that. Honestly, I don't really look at death counts myself. Even though our Ori and the Blind Forest has an in-game death count thing, I'm not sort of like, oh, I'm gonna restrict myself to like 10 deaths for the entire game. I don't really mind how long it takes me.
Yeah, that it becomes sort of a feature, an extra little thing for chat to enjoy, and they very much do. But it, I wouldn't be the type either to let it restrict the way I play. That said, you did just make a very vocal exception for Sekiro.
Sekiro was the one game that was recommended to me, and I tried it out on stream. I did do multiple streams, and the final boss, it was torture. I did about 3-4 hour streams on the final boss. Normally, it takes me around 2 to 3 hours per boss, but this boss took about, what? I don't even know, 12 hours. And I still made no progress whatsoever with it. So I dropped the game completely for about 6 months or a year. I can't remember how long it was, but the only reason I came back to it was because of a subathon that we did. And one of the goals was to play Sekiro again and try to beat that final boss. I did do it eventually.
Yeah,
which is really, really nice, but I kind of did it with cheese instead of the way it was supposed to be done.
All's fair in love, war, and Souls games, goodness knows.
It's so difficult. I think the reason I failed so much was because certain areas were blocked off in the game because of the fact that I reached the final boss, and I didn't get all of the HP that you could possibly get in the game. And they were locked off. I did have a stream where I tried to go to them, but they were just locked off completely. So I didn't have as much of an advantage that someone would have if they did have everything.
You don't usually see that in games. Usually you're able to backtrack and pick up things, especially before the final boss. So the fact that it was locked off, that I can see where that would definitely make it difficult. That you realize, oh, I'm underleveled. I'm going to go grind and make it so that my stats or that my health pool is better, and then to find out, oh, I can't. Yeah, that definitely would make it a even greater challenge than it already was. But still, at the end of the day, sounds like it was a good cathartic win, that you finally beat that demon and were able to say, all right, I beat Sekiro, now go away forever.
I screamed. I think I screamed the loudest I've ever screamed on stream because of beating that boss. It was so loud. I think my vocal cords just absolutely got ripped after that stream.
I'm gonna have to look up that clip sometime, because you can scream, Shizukou. You can definitely scream. So if this one is already a standout, it must have been something special.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really loud.
So wrapping back for a second, you mentioned that you watched Arcane, and obviously we have the whole little silliness of the League community there. And while I haven't watched Arcane, you and I have both watched another show that is far more niche than Arcane, and that's an anime called Kageki Shojo. When we were talking earlier in the week and the topic of anime came up, I usually expect people to mention the go-to shonens or some of the particularly popular shows. Kageki Shojo is a very niche show, and actually I'd like you to introduce it because it is so different, and I'm really curious about what, for this particular show, spoke to you.
So Kageki Shojo, I actually didn't know about this anime until I was scrolling on my For You page on TikTok, and I saw a particular scene from the show, and I was just like, this is something that's not really seen on anime. Like, you don't see these kinds of topics talked about. So if you try to look up this anime right now, actually, you will see a generic kind of poster. It's not something that looks interesting. Trust me, it's more interesting than the blurb and the poster shows. So this anime deals with a lot of difficult topics that people don't usually talk about. Stuff like, I don't really want to spoil it, but very, very difficult topics that are very real. And if you're interested in something like that, this anime is one for you. Yes, copium. Copium indeed.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's really, really interesting to see what kind of approach that the anime takes with these subjects as well.
Yeah, the basic premise is that the characters are at a Takarazuka academy, essentially, which is Japanese theater. I want to find a better term than just theater, but basically, yes, Dragon Boy is an anime that in Japan, there is a certain type of theater which is all female actors. Doesn't matter if the characters being portrayed are male or female. It is known for its very flashy costumes, that it's usually musical, so you have singing and dancing. They've done adaptations of a lot of classic pieces, Shakespearean literature, that actually ends up being a very core subplot in the show. Of there's a point in time when they do auditions and they're using Romeo and Juliet, and you have these performances which, one, if you've read or seen these Shakespearean works in English, it's very interesting to see them in Japanese. But then also the way that they have these different hyper dramatic spins on everything, and that's just at the basis. But a lot of it is getting into performance and show business as a whole, but then also you have it's people who are still in high school or would be college, and the struggles that you have there. And like you said, Shizuko, it definitely goes to a lot of real places that it it stood out for me in particular this year because of the content, the way that it handled these mature themes, and the way it did it so sensitively, that it didn't glamorize the things that it talked about, but at the same time, it wasn't grimdark. That it I feel, had a very thoughtful approach, and obviously there's gonna be a lot of nuance to, once again, we're dancing around some of the specifics because you need to experience this, but I feel that they were very tasteful at the end of the day.
I really like as well how they kind of made the characters feel so real in kind of their responses to what was going on, or their reactions to what was going on. Like, you could tell characters definitely knew about certain things, but the reactions to it just felt so real. And it's quite insane to experience.
Yeah. And it was funny watching it. I realized that there were some parallels, I feel, to VTubing in terms of, one, just show business as a whole. That while VTubing isn't, traditional show business per se, that it is still that type of performance art in its own regard, and the way that you have, frankly, what are parasocial relationships that can develop between viewers and content creators, or, as was shown in the series, actors and fans. That I felt there were some parallels there, and also just a I wonder if, for you as a content creator, did you end up seeing yourself in some of the characters in terms of the things, maybe not necessarily the more intense things that they struggled with, but that you would be able to sympathize with them on a particularly deep level?
Oh, definitely. I think that maybe not now, but there were a lot of situations when I was in secondary school, because obviously they're based on high school students, right? So
Yeah.
there are situations within there where I was like, oh, reminds me of this particular thing that happened, or this reminds me of something that happened when I was this age, or something like that. And it's like, yeah, I think it's one of those shows that addresses these difficult topics, but kind of makes you feel in a way where you're like questioning whether you dealt with things in a right way, or if you kind of experience them as bad or something like that. But I think the fact that it does make you question these things is really good of the show as well, because that's just how real it is.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said, I don't want to make it sound like this is a super depressing show. There are some very intense topics covered for sure. That this is not one that I would suggest for people under 13, but at the same time, I think it is very approachable. That especially if you go in understanding that you are going to see some more sensitive topics. That it's certainly not a grotesque show. It's one that, like we've said, is very thoughtful. And at the end of the day, I would definitely call it an uplifting show. That it is not going to sugarcoat things, but at the end of the day, you're able to walk away with a smile and feel really connected to these characters.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it does have good endings. Definitely.
Yeah. Good endings, earned endings. The only thing that I really have against the series is that it ended, as you see with a lot of anime, frankly, that it's based on a light novel series, and it does not end at the ending of the story. It concludes its
Yeah.
arc. It's the type of thing that if we don't get a second season of Kageki Shojo, I can still look back on the first season and say, this is a satisfying narrative, but at the same time, gosh, I want more of these characters. I want to see where they go from here, because it is very, very clear that their story is not over.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just sort of a symptom of being an anime fan as a whole. I think that I could say the exact same thing about a dozen other shows this year, if not more, that it's how things go, especially when it's adapted material.
Yeah, definitely. There was actually something I read today. It's completely unrelated to anime. I'm sorry for the car.
Oh, no worries.
They actually had some news about Squid Game. I don't know if you've watched this, but they're deciding to get a season 2 and season 3. And I know a lot of people are like, "What season 3? Why season 3?" The
Yeah,
last
I remember season 2 had been announced a while back, but I saw the headline yesterday that they are already in talks for season 3, and that was like, oh, well, don't you want to do 2 before you sign on 3? But I guess, when you have a hit, lock it in.
a lot of people do have an issue with the fact that season 3 is something that's already being discussed when season 2 isn't out. And I think I agree with that. And I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to watch the audience response, especially with something so big. You don't want to kind of mess it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's something that's dangerous territory. They have to be really, really careful.
Yeah, and obviously, without going into spoilers for that particular series, that saying that there's a second season isn't an inherent spoiler, because you don't know, is this going to be, think of Hunger Games, is it the survivor going back into the game, or are we now going to see an entirely new iteration of the games? Because it's not a spoiler to say that the Squid Games are a recurring thing in this universe, that the people who are going through this are not the first people to be going through it. So the existence of a second season could go in any number of directions. And if you've actually seen the series, you know that the number of directions that are possible are even greater than that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, honestly, for me, I feel like season 1, would be more than enough. But I'm one of those people that do like shows that end that way. Whereas a lot of people do expect like a kind of different kind of ending. So that's probably why maybe season 2, they would like season 2. But I think for me, season 1 is enough.
Yeah, and it's interesting that there is this sliding scale of, all right, how much is enough? That, like we said, we'd like to see more of Kageki Shojo, but on the flip side, you have Squid Games, where it's clear that there is more to the story, but sometimes you are satisfied knowing, all right, there's more to the story, but I don't feel like I need more. And it varies for every show. It's going to be entirely dependent on the narrative and where the characters and the plot are left off at the end of whatever season it has there. So it's an interesting paradigm for both creators, companies, and fans nowadays, especially in this world where we have so much more potential for content than ever. That back in the day, content for broadcast TV was limited by hours in the day multiplied by the number of channels, because even if you broadcast something new every hour of every day, if there's only 50 TV channels, that means there is a numerical cap on how much stuff can be broadcast in a given season or a given year. But now in the world of streaming, all bets are off. There is literally no limit to the number of things that Netflix or Amazon or any given streaming service can upload and have going. So for creators, it's a fantastic new world, because it means that there are so many stories and projects that can get greenlit and see the light of day that simply would not have ever actually existed in traditional broadcast, because either they were too risky or they were too niche, and that when you have those limits, it's not practical to spend your broadcast hours showing these things. But now that you don't have that as a limitation, we get to see these more offbeat, these more niche projects, and sometimes these more niche things end up hitting it big and becoming super mainstream in a way that they wouldn't have even had the chance if this were 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad that stuff like Netflix, for example, does exist, because we do get stuff that's really, really nice. But at the same time, sometimes you do get stuff that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the flip side of it as well, that now that there isn't as much of a limit, it means we can get a lot more good stuff, but that there can also be a lot more subpar stuff that you have to sift through to find the gold.
Yeah, definitely. I know for a fact that sometimes when I'm scrolling through Netflix, for example, it's really difficult for me to find something that kind of suits my tastes. Maybe I am very picky, but a lot of the times I will watch one episode or something, and then I'm like, oh, this turned out to be a lot more different than what was kind of described. So I just sort of leave it.
Yeah, and that oh, sorry, I realized I missed a couple follows. Odd Leisure, Urzawin, Muffin the Bunny, Mr. Windmill, and Gold Skulls. Thank you for the follows. Yeah, so with so many shows that you can see, that obviously, one, you can end up with a bit of analysis paralysis of, oh gosh, I see so many things, what do I want to watch, and spend more time deciding than actually watching. And then, you watch something, it's like, oh, okay, this is not what was advertised. I will put this one down and watch something else.
It always happens. It just always happens.
Any particular instances that stick out to you of shows that you thought were one thing and then were completely different?
I think one for me, and I know this is gonna probably annoy some people, but I do care. There's this Marvel series called Iron Fist, I think. And I watched the first few episodes of it, and I couldn't get into it whatsoever. Maybe I have to watch more, but I think I like it when a series kind of captivates me within the first few episodes. I sometimes the first episode will just get me off, but sometimes I do like to give the series a chance and watch a couple more episodes. But just for Iron Fist, I couldn't get into it.
Now, admittedly, I had to actually look that one up because I hadn't heard of it. That one's from 2017, so at least I feel a bit better. I was like, gosh, I know that Marvel's released a lot of series this year. Just everything from What If, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, everything. It was like, Iron Fist? Did I miss one? So that was a couple years ago, in my defense. And I'm guessing that one did not end up getting a second season.
I don't think so, no.
You are definitely, though, a Marvel fan as a whole. And for Marvel fans, it's been a pretty good year, frankly, and especially for a year where traditional movie-going has not been an option. And, technology has definitely gotten to the right place at the right time for that we can now see things on streaming, that you have films that are just being released on these different platforms instead of going to theaters first. And obviously there's a whole business discussion to be had there that we won't get into, but for the fans, it certainly has meant that there's been a lot of new stuff that we've been able to see. Are there any series in Marvel this year that have, really been good for you, or even ones that have missed?
Honestly, I think all of the Marvel series that they've been developing at the moment have been really good. I don't see any flaws with any of them. Even what was it? There was a movie that came out, Black Widow. The Black Widow movie was good. I enjoyed that a lot. As well as like the Hawkeye series, What If, like all of these were really, really good. You could tell that they put a lot of effort into what they were creating. I really enjoyed the Loki one too.
Yeah, I feel like Marvel has reached Pixar levels where even if it's not their best, that a bad Pixar film is usually still a better than average film. And that, you know, it's kind of terrifying how much of a machine Marvel has become in terms of content. But at the same time, it's difficult to argue with the results.
Yeah, for sure. I think they've been doing a really good job recently in terms of like everything. I don't know how they're doing it, but they've learned the ways.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride going back to 2008 with Iron Man and, that whole post-credit scene where you see Samuel L. Jackson with an eye patch and he says, "I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative," and thinking back to how hyped people were just from that, minute and a half scene, the mere implication, the mere suggestion that a movie studio would try and build this giant, quote unquote, as we had never heard it before, cinematic universe, an entirely new concept, and that it has just gone and gone and gone and, really sort of culminating at the end of its first big arc with not Infinity War, Endgame, and just, I went to the midnight release of Endgame at one of my local theaters, and when they had the portal scene, obviously, there were a lot of people applauding in theaters just around the world that night. But it was, for me, I was just sitting there with this dumb grin being like, by all rights, this should not exist. This scene that is unfolding should not exist. It is preposterous that we are seeing this happen right now. Holy crap. Just, it's impressive. Obviously, I'm not going to call them perfect, but geez, they've frankly done something that has not been seen before in cinema, and now they're just spinning off into a not traditional cinema that you have these series and creating this whole big thing, and it's really mind-boggling. But hats off to them.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing that Marvel has achieved is the fact that they've kind of built a community in a way where even if you go to the cinema, like in the UK, it is not commonplace for people to talk or to yell or anything within a cinema. Like you have to be quiet.
Yeah, for
That's just the
sure.
rules. But when it comes to Marvel movies, even now, every single time I go and there's like a post-credit scene or something amazing happens in the movie, everyone is just yelling, like really excited. You see people standing up. That normally never happens in the UK. So it's really insane that Marvel's been able to kind of build this community where everyone just kind of feels the same certain way within the UK. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen it in the US. It's been interesting as someone who goes to movies, just seeing that sort of slight cultural shift, because you're right. Normally it's, shh, be quiet, the movie's playing, don't talk, the movie's playing. And for the most part, that still persists, that you're not going to have people carrying on unrelated conversations during the Marvel films. It's not that type of different. But the fact that it has become socially acceptable to have these types of outbursts, uh, it's fun that it's being able to feel the excitement that the people around you are feeling, whereas usually you have to be very contained and, don't make noise. And sometimes you can sort of feel the energy in the room and be like, yeah, everyone else is enjoying too. But it's very different where it's not to the point where it's a concert and, everyone's screaming and cheering and yelling, save for maybe a couple scenes like with the portal scene. But,
Yeah.
just those moments of outbursts, more often than not, they make you smile. It's sometimes someone's going to be stupid and, do an outburst at a inappropriate time, but usually it's a cheer, you smile, and that people are able to stay engaged in the movie despite a momentary outburst, and that it adds to the experience instead of detracting from it.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I really did enjoy seeing that scene as well in Endgame. And again, that was one of the scenes where everyone was kind of just standing up. You hear gasps in the audience. Like, it just kind of adds to the experience that you probably wouldn't get at home.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, that's sort of, in a indirect way, that's part of how I actually wound up getting into VTubing. Because, like I mentioned, prior to the last couple of years, I did a lot of live event things, and I really enjoy stuff like conventions or events. I love being around large groups of happy, excited people. And obviously, for people like me, 2020 and 2021 have not been stellar. But I remember the HoloLive EN debuts, seeing chat Zoom was the closest thing I'd felt to being at a convention or at a large event in months. And that's part of what the hook wound up being for me. And, you know, just seeing chat go, and even though we're not in the same place and able to actually physically interact or hear each other's excitement, chat is certainly a good substitute. You have your emotes, all the crazy things, and that, it is more than just text, and the ability to, at the very least, feed off of the streamer's energy. And goodness knows you have a lot of energy that Sleepy Panda may be your brand, but Sleepy on stream you are not.
I gotta say, my energy has completely changed thanks to chat. When I first started streaming, I did have the sleepy kind of vibe because I was just always a quiet, sort of introverted person. I just kind of kept to myself, and I never really got excited about anything in terms of video games or stuff like that. Maybe on the inside, but I definitely didn't portray it. But as kind of streaming went on and chat would bully me more and more, don't worry, chat, I'm not calling you out. It would just be kind of that situation where I'm like, okay, I'm not taking it anymore. You guys better sit down. You better get ready for what I'm about to throw at you.
Or in this
But
case,
yeah,
now they're throwing stuff at you. Thanks, Twitch integrated throwing system.
yeah, I guess so in that case. But yeah, I think that in a way, chat kind of helped me to find myself. And I know that sounds really cliche and a bit cringe, but it's nice to kind of have a lot more energy, especially when I'm streaming a game that I like or something like that. And I'm able to kind of put my emotions into words or feelings, which is nice.
Yeah, and I don't think you're alone in that. And obviously, like I said, there's limits of what is tasteful and acceptable. That obviously parasocial relationships are not a good thing, folks. Don't do that. But at the same time, the fact that we are able to interact, even if it is just text on one end versus the streamer on the other, that there is still a connection on some level. And there are healthy expressions of that, and that it is very real and very natural for there to be some level of influence on each other. And it's really cool that for you, that you've been able to be literally and figuratively energized by chat, and whether it be coming out of your shell or just finding your style as an entertainer, that talking about things that happened in 2021, and obviously going even farther back than that, that it is a very real thing, and it's a very common thing, frankly. And every person that's been on this show, this is episode 47, which is a weird thing for me to say, has been influenced by their own community, and the ways in which it happens and the level of impact always varies. But I don't think it's possible for someone to be a content creator and do this for more than a month and not be influenced on some level by the community and their chat and just others around them, even if it is just other content creators. That's part of life, that's part of interacting, that's part of socializing, that type of influence and interaction. And having those changes is what makes us human. Getting a little bit sappy myself.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of the times when I first started streaming, I would be very nervous about kind of going for what chat would tell me, or kind of opening up from my shell. But I think I'm kind of thankful for that in a way, because I've grown as a person as well, and having other content creators as well that I sometimes collab with or things like that. It's like a good experience all the time. And I'm really happy that I've had the opportunity to do stuff like this.
Yes, chat may be a bunch of clowns, but they're clowns with good intentions most of the time.
Most of the time.
But looking forward to 2022, obviously, today and tomorrow, I expect there to be a lot of introspection, a lot of celebration, a lot of looking backward, but also looking forward. You mentioned to me that you actually have several plans for the new year in terms of your content and just how you plan to grow.
Oh yeah, I do have a lot. I used to plan my schedules week by week, and I figured out literally within this month, the start of this month, sorry, that it's just too much to do at the last second. So I feel like now it's a lot better for me to plan stuff month by month instead. So I'm able to get a whole calendar and book things in advance for myself. And that way I can stay a lot more organized. And because of that, now I can do certain streams that I've promised to do, but weren't able to do because either I'm behind on my schedule or there's certain things that I'd rather stream instead because of my feeling that week. But now it's a lot easier, let's say, for example, for me to fit in just chatting streams, which I don't really do that much. Now I can kind of do them at least twice a week. Sorry, not twice a week, twice a month. And as well as that, now I can actually fill in collabs once a week and things like that. We also have YouTube streams coming back as well, which I'll be doing every Monday and Friday roughly, as well as the Twitch streams that I normally do, which will reduce to 4 hours. But hopefully this will allow for different time zones, people from different time zones to be able to catch at least a little bit of Shizukou if they can.
Yeah, I know definitely that'll make it so I'm able to tune into a couple more myself. Like I mentioned earlier, that obviously you don't always broadcast at this hour, but more often than not you do. And things worked out for me very well this week that I'm off from work for the holidays. So I always try to be as flexible as possible for my guests, especially when it comes to different time zones. You are not the first European guest I have had. So I've done earlier ones. This one is, I think, holds the record for earliest for me. But, I was able to plan in advance and know, okay, I need to wake up early this day. And, it was a little bit stressful last night, double and triple checking my alarms, making sure, okay, set the alarm, right? It's not going to go off at PM instead of AM and get all that taken care of. But, as soon as I was up, I was like, all right, I'm up, I'm ready. This is going to be a great show. And I feel like we're having a good time already. But certainly, if your broadcast schedule were to shift a little bit later, I would not complain.
I think one of the major things that a lot of us VTubers struggle with is time zones. Not just only trying to find out our audience's time zones, but also the people that we want to collab with as well. I've had situations, especially for UK peeps, it's really hard to collaborate with anyone.
Yeah,
in the
you're
JST
just stuck in the
time
middle.
zone.
You're in between US and Japan, like you were saying, and 47 episodes in for me, some time zones are easier to work with than others, and just making sure also that even if you aren't very far off in time zones, making sure you're aware of when the other person's time zone is, because even if I'm talking with someone who's 1 hour different from me, okay, cool, we're able to schedule it when it's a super easy time for both of us, but at the same time we need to double and triple check with each other which time zone we are planning in. That is it Central Time, or is it Eastern Time, is it Pacific Time? Because if you're off by an hour, then you're gonna have somebody showing up for a collab and not having the other person there. So that is a constant struggle for all content creators, goodness knows.
It's really confusing sometimes as well, because even just yesterday I was speaking to another VTuber and she was asking me, you're in BST time zone, right? We have this time zone shift that happens for summer, and it's called British summertime.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and then daylight savings and whatnot and everything. Just it's already difficult enough, and then just at these inconsistent times for various regions, we're gonna shift it 1 hour, and then you need to, especially for collabs happening that day or that week, it multiplies the headaches.
yeah. I remember when it was the first week of the time change, and sometimes you would forget to message someone and be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, the time zone is changing." And sometimes as well, it even happens with other people in the EU. I will be talking to them, and they'll be like, "Okay, this is going to be this time GMT +1," and I'll be like, "Wait, no, you're going to be GMT +2 now because the UK is GMT +1 now."
Yeah, and it's especially if you're planning in advance of that shift, that the day of is always reacclimating, but then yeah, if you are planning ahead, then you need to also account for it. And, you know, when we have daylight savings shift here in the United States, it's not the same as when you have your summertime shift in the UK. And ugh, can we just, who do we need to talk to? What is the International Council of Time? Who do we talk to about getting this fixed, please?
It's such a mess sometimes, but we can make it work.
Yep, work through it one way or another. But yeah, I think most content creators will agree that time zones are our shared enemy.
For sure. Definitely.
Yes, Time Machine when Time Council. All right, chat. There's your job. Go find us the Time Council. Find them. Bring them to us. For Marvel shows, sort of wrapping back again there, was it the movies that really got you into Marvel, or were you into the comics beforehand? How did getting into that universe happen for you?
I think it was the movies. I never read the comics at all. Although it has kind of helped me in a way to increase my knowledge of the characters and their powers within the comics. Say, for example, Captain Marvel. Like, I know that movie came out and a lot of people hated it. And I knew for a fact that Captain Marvel was supposed to be a pretty strong character. And without spoiling it too much, the comics kind of give her different things. So it's pretty interesting to see what kind of approach they take in response to the comics as well, and maybe why they would sort of change things. I mean, I definitely know why they changed stuff for Captain Marvel now.
Yeah, particularly comic book power levels are absurd. If you watch the Death Battle series at all, I feel like every time they have someone who's from a comic book series that they're going to have an inherent advantage because, especially if you go back to, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that power scaling in there is completely absurd, and being able to actually translate that to compelling film and storytelling nowadays means that you're going to have to shift some things around.
It's always gonna be one of those things that Marvel struggles with, really.
Yeah,
It's gonna be something that's really difficult.
and it's sort of interesting. You have that on one end, and there's so many different iterations of comics, and now you have the films, and that adaptation and changes is par for the course. And then on the other side, we have the anime fandom. And did you see the live action Cowboy Bebop?
I didn't, but I know everyone was angry.
I'm one of the few people that saw it and I was like, I think this is good. Unpopular opinion. I don't think it was perfect, certainly, but they made some changes. And it's the type of thing that I found myself thinking, if this were a comic originally, I think the level of changes would have been acceptable. But I think the anime community is not as used to changes. And part of that comes from the fact that by the time Iron Man was made into a film, it had already been through however many reboots in the comics. So they were used to it. But for anime and for other mediums as well, that book adaptations or other things of that nature, that the consumers of that media are not as inherently used to iteration and changes as comics. And I think that's part of what plays to Marvel and DC's favor. The fact that the people who have grown up with the comics are already used to things being changed and being different one iteration to the next.
Yeah, for sure. I know that there was a live action adaptation of I forgot what it's called, The Way of the House Husband or something like that.
Yeah.
And that did have its own changes as well, but I think I didn't really care that much about the changes at all because I really did enjoy the series a lot. And it's the same for like stuff like Gintama and things like that. I think the live action adaptations for those were very good. I can see where the anger comes from sometimes with live action adaptations for other animes, but at the same time we have to remember as well that they are trying to live adapt something that is supposed to be fictional and animated anyway. So of course there will be changes, of course there will be things that they have to make more real or more kind of adapted to our universe.
Plus, I feel like if they were to create a perfect one-to-one adaptation, wouldn't people then just say, well, then what's the point of watching this? Because it's literally the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Are there any series, whether it be anime or books or Marvel comics, anything at all, that you would want to see a live action adaptation of?
Ooh, honestly, I'm not too sure because I really do enjoy Gintama a lot, and that already does have a live action. I don't think maybe Promise Neverland might be a good one because I know the anime did pretty badly.
Season 2 of Promise Neverland. You want to talk about the biggest disappointments of 2021? Ugh.
I watched a few episodes and I realized this is going way too fast. What's going on? And I read the manga and I was like, oh my god, they skipped 100 chapters. This is not good.
Yeah, I had not read the original material, but I heard very quickly a lot of people saying, wait a minute, they just skipped one of the biggest and most popular arcs and started just getting to a breakneck pace. And that really surprised me because season 1 was so successful. It was lauded. People were raving about it. And I would have thought that if they wanted to make more than 2 seasons, that people would have watched it. People would have been fine with them taking their time because it was so successful. And I don't know if there was a contract or whatever it was that said it has to be done in 2 seasons, but by gosh, did they get it done in 2 seasons?
I did hear, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I did hear that apparently the writer themselves didn't enjoy that arc. So maybe that's why they decided to take it away from the anime. But regardless of that, a lot of people did enjoy that arc, and you'd think that the writer would probably sacrifice for that. But at the end of the day, it's their work, you know, they get to choose.
Yeah.
But I really wish that I saw an animated version of it.
Yeah, and that could be an interesting one to do as live action that obviously you would need to get younger actors for it, unless you were to shift and say, all right, the main characters, maybe we just age them all up and say that, I'm not even going to dance around spoilers, because if you haven't heard for Promise Neverland at this point, it's episode 1 spoilers, that the monsters like to, harvest the kids, and we'll say that the ideal age for that isn't, 5, 6, 7 or whatever, but we'll say that it's 18 or whatnot. And, if you rewrite that detail, that lets us then use older actors who, one, would probably be more capable actors to begin with, but also that if you then have multiple films or a longer production schedule, that they aren't going to change as fast physically as kids who are, in the middle of growing up, and that you'll have sort of the Harry Potter effect where sometimes you want to see the actors grow up with the production, other times you want to keep things relatively consistent. So that would be an interesting thing I think that age of the actors aside, that would be a really interesting live action adaptation because, you can make the monsters with CG, and then everything else really is the human element of it. And I think it's one that could be pulled off because most of what they do is grounded in reality, at least in terms of what you're talking about for physics. And we aren't talking with superpowers, at least for the human characters. So if you're already working with monsters and whatnot, it doesn't matter when you're portraying them it's easier to do that than to, create augmentations for human behavior, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I think having a live action for Promised Neverland might actually be something that would be really good to pull off. But the question is whether or not they would pursue something like that after the anime.
Yeah, you wonder if the IP is sort of soured now just because of how all that fell out.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. And then for Gintama, obviously, that is just a long-running series. If memory serves, aren't they getting ready to do, isn't it literally called Gintama the Final, or is that a different series I'm thinking of?
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's been around for a while and that they are getting ready to finally conclude it. So have you seen all of I think it's 9 seasons of that show?
I'm very close to the end, I think. Although there are a lot of theories as to whether Gintama is actually ending because apparently they've done something like this before where they say they are ending and then they come back.
Or you could go the Naruto Boruto route where, yes, Naruto is over, but we have Boruto now with Naruto.
Still more content.
Yes. It's very difficult for companies and creators to put cash cows out to pasture. That people usually only get one hit of that level, and certainly of Gintama's level, in a lifetime. And it's very natural to want to keep going with that because, if you have something that's successful, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And for better or worse, that's usually how it goes, where they don't fix it until it's broke.
I feel like Gintama is one of those exceptions where it probably won't ever run dry technically because there will always be new animes coming out that they can just parody and things like that.
Yeah. And you have these series that can just go on and on and on, whether it be because they have parody material that is constantly new or just, things like Pokemon where the number of potential concepts there is really going to be endless and that they can just keep that train going. And you hope and you are as optimistic as you can be that they keep up the quality bar. And to Gintama's credit, they've gotten this far, so
definitely could do more.
Makes you wonder then, would they ever go into parody of, other types of content? Could we ever see parodies of, Marvel things or Assassin's Creed and stuff?
Or even VTubers. That would be interesting.
Ooh. I assume that at some point in the next, it has to be within 3 years, that we're gonna see a VTuber anime of just not a series that has VTubers as the actors, but a series about people who are VTubers or are, trying to become VTubers. That I feel like, especially in Japan at this point, it's too much of a thing, and especially in these nerdy circles that are already going to be watching anime, to not have something that I'm imagining that series like that are already being pitched actively, and there's probably at least 1 or 2 that have already been greenlit that we don't know about yet. I would expect to see them in the next year or 2. It feels like it's inevitable.
It will definitely happen for sure. There's so much you could write about too.
And the number of approaches you could take are pretty wide, actually, that you could do sort of a Kageki Shojo style VTuber series, I think, where you talk about, the more serious things and take things a bit more thoughtfully. Or you could do just a straight up comedy series of a bunch of friends who are all being VTubers, and it could be very, very silly in that way. Or you could do something like Shirobako, where it takes sort of the more business end of everything and doesn't quite hit the super dramatic things that you see in Kageki Shojo, but also still is a bit more realistic. So I don't know what we'll get first, but if I had to bet, I would bet that we're going to get something within 3 years.
seems likely. I think so as well. 3 years. That's a good time scale.
If you were able to have a hand in creating a series like that, is there a particular approach that you would want to see?
Um, I'm not too sure. I know that I watched an anime that kind of dealt with something a little bit similar, but it was only within the first episode. I can't remember what it was called. It was a sports anime actually, but this guy was supposed to be a well-known YouTuber. So maybe they could go with that approach where they are, you know, maybe as like a slice of life, for example. Maybe there's an anime of a group of VTubers that actually meet up and things like that. That would be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy my slice of life shows, and you know, those usually end up being comedies, but also not necessarily even the laugh out loud type. Just that slice of life, that relatable type of thing, and that could be very interesting. And you already have some VTubers that there have been members of Hololive that have actually done bit parts in animes or have contributed to opening or ending songs. So we're already seeing that crossover, which is an entirely different and sort of interesting thing of people being able to participate in the anime industry and in show business under the pseudonyms of their VTubers and having that be a thing where it's, a celebrity cameo now because VTubers are at that level. And that's going to be even before you try and get it, because I could honestly just see, a proper Hololive anime that I think the brand's at that point, and I know they do their own shorts, but makes you wonder, would, I don't know, Studio Wit or someone be interested and take that type of approach? Who knows?
Yeah, I think Hololive does have an anime that is under development right now, but I think maybe there will be more opportunities in terms of VTuber animes or even just manga or light novels or something like that. I feel like there's a big market for something like that, because also the audiences that are involved with VTubing or are really fond of learning more about VTubing, they would want to read or watch something like that as well.
Yeah. And goodness knows there are many, many talented artists and other creators in the community that aren't even VTubers themselves. And we already see things like fan projects. That there are a couple fan games of people making like VTuber fighters that I've seen. So we already have those being made on the fan level, and it's just, all right, when do companies get on board and realize, all right, there is a really big market? Because while the past year and a half has been explosive growth for the VTubing community as a whole, I feel like it's just bumping up against that mainstream awareness. And I think that we've had that huge growth that happened sort of late last year, early this year, but I feel like there's going to be one more moment. I don't know when it will be. I don't know what the moment will be, but I think there's going to be one more, sort of lightning in a bottle thing that really takes VTubing to that next level in public awareness.
I think I agree with you. I think there's definitely more things that can be done within the VTubing community as well. Like we were saying earlier, that there might be new developments going on and new projects that might be happening behind the scenes. Maybe new technology or something like that brings VTubing to like a whole new level. Or it could just be as simple as, I don't know, like someone really huge debuting as a VTuber. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I would want to see documentaries on of, the early days of Hololive. Of, it starts out as what's supposed to be a game company. They aren't looking to become this talent agency, but they sort of fall into it because, as the story goes, Sora was essentially showcasing their AR technology, and it sort of spiraled from there. And you have just the advent of Hololive English, which brought things really. There had already been English VTubers, but I don't think it's ridiculous to say that the Hololive EN was what really made it big in the West and brought a lot of awareness in the West, and just all these different moments in these past couple of years and technology going along with it. That it used to be with Kizune AI that you would need this very complex, expensive rig and technology that not everybody's going to be able to buy, but now you can just use a phone and you're good to go. And where technology goes, where the community goes, and again, public awareness, that it is an exciting time for VTubers, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I got into VTubing as well. Like, I saw Kizuna Ai's actual debut video and I was just like, whoa, this must be so expensive. And it was really inaccessible at the time. But a few years down the line, you know, with COVID and lockdown, we sort of see these indie VTubers pop out of nowhere, and there's like new ways of being able to do VTubing with live 2D and things like that now. And that was one of the reasons I actually got into it. So it's really interesting to see how technology has developed, and I'm really excited to see what will happen in the future as well.
Is there anything that you personally want to do with your own content, whether it be figuring out new technology to incorporate or just ways that you can take things to the next level? We've already mentioned that you're tinkering around with your schedule, some new platforms, but is there anything that either you plan to try out or that you say, I hope someone develops blank because there's this thing I want to do and I don't have the technology right now, but dang, would I love to see this?
Honestly, I have been trying to think of something for a long time. I don't have a plan of what it will be yet, but I do want to do something that hasn't been done before, if you know what I mean. Something that's completely different and completely new. I don't know if I need anything new for it. I don't know if maybe it already exists. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I do want to try something that's completely new, never seen before. And I'm really excited to come up with the plan for it soon.
Yeah, I feel like that really is the just most content creators really have that, I want to try something new. I want to figure out what hasn't been done before. And well, that's the challenge, isn't it? What hasn't been done before, because a lot's been done, but at the same time, every time that something new comes along, you usually look at it and say, oh gosh, how did I not think of that? And it's being able to figure that out, to think ahead, to think creatively, and find either what hasn't been done or a particular combination of things sometimes, that it isn't always, all right, innovate and create something that is completely new and unheard of, but taking factor A, factor B, and factor C, and no one has ever done ABC before, even if they've done A and they've done B and they've done C.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Even things that you've probably seen before, you can just combine them and it might turn into something completely new on its own.
Yeah. And, like I said, along with technology, that's going to be really interesting. That, 2-3 months ago, that I had seen, I think, 2 VTubers with technology that was close to the Twitch integrated throwing system. And now it's something that is super accessible. Everyone can get, that you can go download it for, I think it's like $15 or something, but then you get this system and it's very nicely packaged and easily workable. And that's just another thing that, similar to Kizuna AI, of you no longer need the big expensive rigs, and that it's easily packaged and accessible. And as these barriers to entry and barriers to content creation go down, that the potential for these new and innovative things unlock, because as more people get their hands on that technology, that they're going to be able to start thinking on those different axes and in those different realms that they simply couldn't before.
Yeah, it's quite insane to see how many different things have been developed thanks to VTubing itself. There's so many different things that I see almost every day, and it's insane to see how creative people can become and how VTubing has helped with that. It's really, really impressive.
Were there any developments for your own content that, even if you weren't the first to do it, of things that you saw and said, I know I can do that and I know I can do it really well, that you adopted into either anything that could be sort of as nebulous as your own strategy and approach, even if it isn't quite in a tangible way, or if there was a particular type of stream or game or gimmick that you said, all right, I've seen this and I think I can do this really, really well too, if not better than anyone else?
I haven't had anything yet so far, but I do have plans for things that I can't do at the moment, but I am like, oh, I really want to do this. I think I can do it well. Which I won't share because I don't know if I can do it anytime soon. But I think it's something that is really well done once it's executed. And I think that it's not as commonly used as it could be, which is something that's actually surprising to me because a lot of big people have done that. So I'm really excited to kind of try it out for myself.
I won't ask you to spoil that because it sounds like, keeping it close to the chest for the time being, which is very understandable to be sure, but it's cool that you have your eye on something, even if you're not able to act upon it just yet, that you can be actively on the lookout for, okay, I'm going to have my ear to the ground. So when either this piece of technology becomes more widely accessible or when something is created that allows me to do this thing, that you're going to be able to jump on it and be ready and have this plan that you can go ahead and execute on, even if you aren't able to take that step just yet.
Yeah, definitely. Always keeping my eye out.
And in terms of new and different things, that one thing that not a lot of VTubers have is their own merch. And I actually just did a shout out in the chat, which includes the link for your jacket that you were approached a couple months ago, I think it was now, about having replicas of your jacket being made. And that's something very exciting. So folks, be sure if you want to have something nice and big and comfy like Shizukou to wear around, that it's available. The pre-orders are up, and as most things are for these types of projects, it's based on pre-orders, making sure that they can get a good print run. But what I like about that jacket is the fact that it is a subtle type of nerdy, that you can look at that jacket and not know, oh, that's from a VTuber, unless you know it. That to the general public, it could just look like a very stylish big jacket. And, I don't know if I'd be the type to wear a t-shirt that had a VTuber's face, any VTuber, that just not really my style. But something like that where it's more subtle, a bit more functional, things that can go with basically any outfit, I am always really interested in, because those are the ones that I feel like, okay, I can just wear this out. And if you know, you know. And sometimes you'll run into somebody in public who will comment on the logo on your hat or on your shirt and be like, hey, I'm a fan too, and that's really cool. But you can wear it out and not worry about people sort of looking at you funny, because, whether it be anime or VTubing or what have you, that since these are still sort of niche areas of content, that if the apparel that you have is too loud per se, that it can get unwanted attention. But, finding that middle ground is really good. And I think that's one of the particular appeals for your jacket.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm one of those big fans as well that likes to have kind of subtle merchandise for anime and stuff as well. Like there's this Evangelion merchandise shop, actually. It's called Radio Eva, and they do Evangelion branded clothing and stuff like that, but you can't really tell unless you know. So I really do like clothing or merchandise that's themed around subtle kind of references rather than just having a face on a t-shirt, for example. It seems a lot more creative to me.
Yeah, it's easy enough to put a face on a shirt, but finding that style, especially if it's something more abstract, like in this case for Evangelion, that I'm not familiar with this particular line, but I can already imagine that, all right, you might take the color scheme of, the dark purple and the neon green, and maybe do something with lines there, possibly have like a small tasteful Nerve logo on the chest somewhere, but not the giant big thing where it takes up the entire front of the shirt, but where you might have the designer logo up by the breast pocket or something, and have it be done in a more subtle way like that.
Yeah, it's just a lot more tasteful to me.
Lex says, I want Chizu's left ear on a shirt. That's very specific request. We will run it by corporate. Yeah, I was thinking, it was like, I don't think there's a meme about Chizu's left ear. Maybe I missed something, but I don't think so.
It's just Lex being a clown.
As always. Let's see those clown emotes in the chat. Oh, and then the follow-up question, Shizu has ears? Because, yeah, I suppose that your ears are not actually... You can sort of see them through the sides of your hair. I never actually thought about that before.
I have ears. They're just covered by my luscious hair.
For the upcoming year, obviously you have a couple of outfits already, but are there any updates to your model or to outfits that you might be tinkering with? Obviously, if you want to keep those classified, I will completely understand, but if you are comfortable talking about a couple of concepts, I'm super curious.
I do actually have 2 new outfits planned. One of them is a rough outfit. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm not going to tell you guys. But the one outfit that I do have is actually New Year themed. They've already seen it, so I can talk about it. It is a design to do with a yukata. And it looks really, really good. I really like the way that my papa comes up with these designs as well. I always send him like 1 or 2 references from different kinds of anime characters or things like that, and he just sort of mashes them together and makes it really unique to me. So I really appreciate the hard work that he does with these outfits.
If you're comfortable saying, I don't need like all of them, but now that you mention using anime characters as references, are there any that you're comfortable saying, you know, I've sent this one along to my papa as one that I see sort of as a potential for myself?
Normally, I send him characters that kind of resonate with me. So a good example of that is Azalane's Laffy. Some of the outfits, I'm just like, okay, yeah, you can have this one. And there's also Cappuccino from Is the Order a Rabbit as well. Like, I don't know.
Ooh, it's been a while since I've seen Is the Order a Rabbit. You want to talk about your fun, cozy slice of life shows? That's a good one.
Yeah, I really enjoy cozy slice of life, and I think Cappuccino, that character in particular, is kind of has the same kind of vibes that I have. So I do send that one a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Going along the lines of anime and games, we have a combination which is not exclusive to anime, but it's sort of known for it, that we have gacha games, and I know that you are big into gacha.
I play so many. I normally, after a stream, I log into a couple of my gachas before I go and eat food. And normally, sometimes it's just daily tasks, such as, you know, doing dailies, like they say, for Genshin or like Blue Archive. At the moment, I've been playing something called Cookie Run Kingdom. And that one, the daily tasks take a lot longer than other gacha games, which I kind of like about it, because it allows me to kind of play something for half an hour or an hour, rather than just speed running through the daily tasks. So I do really enjoy playing them a lot. And even though I do play a lot of gachas, I don't actually pull out my wallet or my credit card or anything like that. I'm normally one of those free-to-play people.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's aided by the fact that you are playing multiple, that if you're only playing one, it's definitely a lot more difficult to get a significant amount of playtime out of the game without monetizing. But if you are doing, you know, however many you have at the same time, that you then can get that more extended play session through these multiple ones without having to actually spend on it. Do you recall what your first big gacha game was, in the sense of like, what was the first one that you really dove into, even if it wasn't spending, but that, you know, you played for more than a month?
I think it was Girls Frontline. I really liked the concept of guns becoming anime girls, and I know that sounds super weird, but it just seemed like something brand new to me. I was like, what? They made guns into anime girls? This seems interesting. And the gameplay was actually super nice as well. The events were cool. I really liked the crafting system. It was really good.
Is that one you still play now? Because I still see ads for it every now and again, so I know they're still active.
I don't play it anymore, although I did really enjoy my time playing it a lot.
Was that just one where, you know, you either ran out of content or that it became stale for you, even if it didn't do anything necessarily wrong? Or was there sort of a moment that you were like, okay, I don't like what they did here, so I want to stop playing? Or was it more of just you got into other ones and had sort of that the clean breakup, as it were?
I think it was more of me having loads of tasks to do, and then eventually, because I didn't log in for a long time, I was like, oh,
Mm,
I might as well drop the game because it's been a long time
yeah,
since
you
I
feel like you're
played.
too
So
far behind.
yeah.
Which ones are you playing right now? You mentioned that you have several.
Blue Archive, Genshin, I sometimes log in and out of, sometimes I don't. I guess Apex counts as one. There's also Cookie Run Kingdom. I played this one called Revived Witch, but I dropped it. I think majority of us actually did that. The game kind of felt like it was too easy to get the characters you wanted, but also the story kind of felt a bit slow, and sometimes it felt too repetitive. So that was one I dropped. Mm.
Hmm. It's it's not every day that I hear someone say, I dropped a gotcha because it was too easy to get characters. That there's the frequent complaint of, it's too expensive and they're releasing so many characters that I feel like I have to spend and I don't want to spend. And if I don't spend on the characters, that I can't keep up. But then you have the other end where it's too easy and it's like, okay, I don't feel as satisfied or accomplished when I do those things. So it's interesting that it's much rarer for a company to err on that side of design.
I don't really know how to explain it. They had guarantees on their banners. If you don't get the character on the banner, there's still a guarantee to get an ultra rare. And then even then, there's still a guarantee to get the character on the banner as well. And it was very easy to farm for the rolls, but also the fact that I played for less than a month and I already had 5 ultra rares. It's like, what's the point, I already have really strong characters.
Yeah, and it's interesting because for some people, that's the ideal gameplay experience of, oh, I can play for a month, not have to spend, and get these awesome characters. That's great. And that usually is a sign of a company being generous, which in some cases can actually work against them because it means they're not getting as much money as they can per player. But, there's the mindset of, okay, we don't need to make as much per player. And if people feel that we are generous and good, that we'll get more installs and more people playing in the game, and that we don't need to make as much per player if we simply have more players to scale. And that's a totally valid business concept. But then there is, like you said, that opposite end where part of why people like gacha is the grind, is the struggle, is the accomplishment and excitement of getting the thing. But if you have those guarantees, while from a competitive standpoint, it feels good because you can get these characters, that there is that segment of players who are in it for the thrill of just unlocking, and it is the process. It's not even necessarily using the characters. So I find it interesting because I feel like one that's sort of telling about the game designers, but also telling about you as a player of what you value and what you look for in your games.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy grinding a lot more. I think that's probably to do with probably to do with all the Dark Souls games and stuff like that I've been playing as well. It just feels a lot more rewarding to kind of have a challenge and then end up beating that challenge and getting what you want eventually, rather than just getting it straight away.
What game are you playing now, or that you've played in the past, even if you've dropped it, do you feel has the ideal balance for you as a player? That obviously, it's going to vary from player to player on what they value, but is there one that you feel that you just played and was like, they got the system exactly where I want it to be, or at least better than anyone else has gotten it?
I think Cookie Run Kingdom has a good system. I think Genshin as well, even though people complain about it a lot, I think their gacha system is actually pretty good. The balance is pretty good. There are guarantees, but it's not like super easy. It does feel like there is a bit of a grind to do. It's also the fact that you have to grind for the pools as well. Same with Cookie Run Kingdom. I think just getting the points is a lot harder, which is good. I like that. I don't like it when it's just handed to me.
Yeah, Cookie Run Kingdom, I am not a gacha player, and part of that is because part of the work that I have done as QA has been at one point for a gacha game. And, you know, when you work in the gaming industry, I feel like it's kind of par for the course for your gaming consumption to go down a little bit because you're playing it during the day a lot already. So when you're off the clock, you want to be doing other stuff. So I definitely, even though I have not actively played any games as a player, all the things you just said made total sense to me. And Cookie Run Kingdom has been a really interesting one, I feel like, in the community because usually you see stuff like Girls Frontline where it's, that or Fate Grand Order and it's anime style characters and you have the really fancy outfits and whatnot. And Cookie Run Kingdom artistically is just completely under other end of the spectrum where it's literally cookies. It's these cartoonish cookies. And I think even without playing it, they must be doing something right in terms of design to get a foothold in this community that usually goes for a very particular style, and for them to be so contrary to that style that if it's not the style that is getting people in, then it has to be the gameplay. It has to be the design and the balance, that they have to be getting all these other things right because they can't be leaning on aesthetics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's like loads of different elements to the game. It kind of feels like two games at once. There's like a gacha system, there's an arena, which is obviously the PvP. There's also levels that you have to do. There's also the fact that you have to manage your own city, like those city builder games, it's got that kind of system in it as well. So you've always got to log in and you've always got something to do. It's not like you run out of stamina and then you've got nothing to do. You can manage your city, you can participate in the arena, you could I don't know, go and do the trays or something like that. There's always something.
I don't think you've ever done a cooking stream. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, I haven't.
If you ever do that, make it a gingerbread one and just make the Cookie Run Kingdom characters. There you go. Boom.
That would be interesting.
So I say that knowing full well that cooking streams are not easy things to do. It's a much easier said than done thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a VTuber that I admire who does something like that, Giri.
Yeah.
Some of you might know who that is. She does very unique cooking streams. I really like the way that she set up the streams and the way they kind of look visually as well. It's really, really unique. And I do admire her for that. It's very creative.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever watched Food Network when you were younger, but it reminds me really of those shows that you would see on broadcast TV of, a chef just walking you through a full-on recipe, and it goes from beginning to end, and she starts with the ingredients and actually cooking and making everything, and by the end of the 3, 4, 5 hour stream she has a meal and is tasting it, and she does a really good job of getting it condensed down. I'm not sure if she does it or if she has an editor, but that she will usually release a 10-ish minute video on YouTube of the stream of just hitting those key points throughout it. But I've actually tuned into several of those cooking streams recently, and they are really fun, and you don't see those as often. That obviously there's a number of VTubers who do that. You even see Hololive doing cooking streams every so often, but she's made it part of her regular rotation, part of her brand, really. And yeah, she definitely does a very good job of that.
It's really, really creative. I really like how she kind of incorporates herself as well as the cooking. And I really like how entertaining the streams become too.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember who it was in the chat that mentioned food, but they were like, how have we not talked about food yet? It's a Shizu stream. It's like, well, we'll find a way eventually, and there you go.
I always manage to mention food within my streams. It's always by accident. I don't try to make chat hungry, but it happens.
Hey, everyone has to eat, so...
It's just part of my survival.
When you're streaming, do you have any go-to snacks that you use? Because obviously your streams are some of the longer ones that I feel like usually your minimum is about 3 hours, and you'll usually go somewhere in a 3 to 5 hour window. And that's a fair amount of time. Do you just eat a big meal beforehand and power through, or do you sometimes have quiet snacks that you will munch on and, mute your microphone so we don't get crunching ASMR? But do you end up eating during stream?
When it's the longer streams, sometimes I do 12-hour streams, like for my birthday, for example.
Yeah.
I do get munch-alongs and I do mute my microphone and just eat as we go along. But in terms of the 6-hour streams, it's conveniently after my lunchtime. So I do have lunch, and then when I end the stream, it's already dinner time. So I will go and have my break time within the middle of it and just grab like a Kit Kat or something like that. But otherwise, not really munching, no.
Ooh, you mentioned Kit Kats in particular, and that I feel is a whole other realm because Kit Kat is obviously known, especially in Japan, for having many, many flavors.
I really want to try all of the flavors. I know there's a ton, but if I tried to get green tea Kit Kat here, for example, imported from Japan, it would be £5. So I'm not gonna pay that much.
Yeah,
But
there is a limit there. So do you usually just go for the classic chocolate, or are there any different flavors that you're able to get pretty easily over there in the UK?
just classic.
Here in the US, at the very least, where I am, there are a couple Asian supermarkets where you can pick up some differently flavored Kit Kats at a reasonable price. So you're going to pay a little bit more for sure, but you need to go to those specialty stores and have them near you. Otherwise, like you said, yes, putting in a special order for green tea Kit Kats or strawberry Kit Kats or something is going to be a lot more than you usually want to pay for candy.
Yeah, definitely. It's insane sometimes.
Chat is asking for a Kit Kat mukbang, and I feel like that's something you could do. Just it gets easier to purchase things if you do it in bulk. So find one of those variety packs and just do a taste along stream. That obviously, I say this, you're the one that knows your style, your budget, your content the best. So I say all these things as fun little suggestions, but obviously I understand that. Take everything I and chat say with a grain of salt.
I feel like a Kit Kat mukbang would be I'd probably die after 2. I do have like a very low calorie intake, so
okay, yeah, in that case, very understandable reason there not to. That, don't risk your health. Don't do that. Byakuya says British snack reviews. That could be something of just, making your own stuff. Who knows? Now we're even sort of iterating on the cooking stream and figuring out, all right, where do we go from there? But, that's one of the cool things about VTubing is that when I talk with people about it, that I say VTubing it's not a genre, it's not a style, it's literally just content creation, and that you have a virtual avatar of some sort instead of your face. And that the possibilities are endless from there, that you can do anything that a face streamer does, and that includes, to an extent, going IRL of, having your hands visible and the rest of you not visible, and that you still have your model, and the sky's the limit there. And that's going to be one of the fun things I'm looking forward to seeing from you and from, all my past guests and VTubing in general over the next year of, all right, we're now past, this year and last year, and over time, as we've said, technology adapts, but so does content. That there's always sort of the meta, so to speak. But at the same time, it's just natural innovation, and that what is the meta today is going to be tomorrow's just average, really. And seeing what is thought of and goes through that cycle of becoming new meta average, and where we're going to be next year. Because, if you had asked me this time last year where VTuber is going to be in terms of size and content output and quality, like just quality alone, absolutely mind-boggling what you and so many others have been able to do this year.
It's completely insane. It's again with the whole technology thing, but also the fact that we're able to kind of cross the boundaries and have VTuber versus IRL and like put them together. It's completely insane. Even sometimes you'll have people who interview VTubers and they have the VTuber there, but also they have people that are actually there as well. It's like really insane how they combine the two. And I think there's going to be a lot more in terms of that direction as well, seeing how they will combine VTubing into real life situations.
Yeah, just the AR aspect that the particular instance of what you just described, when I think of that, is Trash Taste Podcast did an episode with Calliope Mori from Hololive, and it was the three usual hosts and Callie sitting at a table. And like you said, that Callie's model was sitting there. It was very obvious that the person behind Callie was not there, but the fact that we're able to have a seamless, just superimposing of the model where it's not just your average, okay, you have the person appearing on screen, but that they're actually able to be integrated into a real life environment in a way that looks natural. And that's one of the things that I look at and say, okay, that's a piece of technology or just an aspect that is not super commonplace and accessible right now. That talking about technology becoming more accessible, I think that might be one of the things over the next year or so that we see becoming more accessible, and that people will be able to actually put themselves into IRL scenes much more seamlessly than we are right now.
Yeah, for sure. There's also loads of developments going on at the moment with like lighting, for example. I actually played around with that yesterday, where you can kind of make yourself look like you have the lighting of the game that you're playing with. And I feel like soon enough we'll have something like that for environments and things like that. And eventually maybe there'll be situations like you could have rain droplets on your face or something like that. It would be really interesting.
Yeah, just those little bits of immersion really do make a difference. Of, like you said, the lighting. That's one that I first saw only a couple months ago, and it definitely varies. Some games are better for that than others, but just the fact that we can do that now, and the fact that you're able to have that dynamic lighting, makes a real difference, because it now looks like you're in the game, or at the very least, visually, it can make things feel a bit more natural, because it's not just you being super bright, and your particular color palette especially is on the brighter side. So if it's against a darker game, that can be a pretty stark contrast. So for you, I can see the particular benefit of it helps things just become a bit more visually consistent.
Yeah, for sure. I think it also helps a lot in terms of immersion, for you guys as well, chat. I think it really helps in terms of kind of immersing you into the game and seeing how I kind of struggle with the game as well.
Is there a reason that three people in chat have mentioned sand tasting? Is that a joke that I'm not aware of, or is that just them being clowns?
I told a story that the first day that I went into reception, which is kind of like the first kind of experience that you have of school, I went into reception and there was a situation where a kid came up to me and they were with a sand kind of pit. It's like on a plastic table, and they came up to me with a plastic glass and they said, "Here, drink this." And me being a 3-year-old, 4-year-old kid, I was like, okay, sure, I trust you, and I drank the sand that was in the cup.
And that probably did not end well. And
I was laughing a lot.
and then you look like that one odd kid, because did you say so and so told me to do it, or was it just that the teacher thought for some reason that little Shizukou decided to drink sand of her own volition?
Oh no, I was so embarrassed. I didn't even tell the teacher. I was
oh
just
my
like,
gosh. Okay. Oh no. That they were keeping an eye on you for the entire school year after that. Just like, okay, day one, they're drinking sand. As a teacher, that there are certain kids that are more prone to shenanigans than others. And you're like, okay, got to keep an eye on this one. At least I found this out day one.
Accidents were made.
Tasty sand indeed.
No.
Oh dear.
Oh god.
Don't worry, I won't suggest a sand cooking stream.
Oh god.
But talking about, IRL experiences and sort of breaking those boundaries there that even if the technology isn't there right now, I know that one thing that you really enjoy doing when you're not streaming is getting out and exercising. That it's a bit of a running joke, touch grass, get outside, see sunshine. But in actuality, that is something that you really do enjoy doing.
Yeah. Um, the first time that I experienced something like that was probably at the end of primary school. In a year six trip, we went to some particular place in the countryside, and they had like a whole kind of accommodation for the whole year of my school to go to. And there was a little campfire in this kind of foresty area that was there. There was also like a big field of grass, so we could just walk around and explore this location with like little lakes and tiny rivers and stuff, streams of water. And it was really, really refreshing to get away from the city where I live and just being able to smell fresh air. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a different kind of smell to air in the countryside
Oh,
compared to
absolutely.
within a city. It just feels a lot fresher. And just being able to experience that at that time, now I do enjoy doing that a lot. Unfortunately, in the recent years, I haven't been able to do that. But there are sort of trails that you can walk on in the countryside where you can just walk wherever you want. And there's also sometimes you'll see cows, sometimes you'll see sheep, sometimes horses. And it's really interesting to see that kind of thing, but also be able to just go on a trek and kind of forget about responsibilities that you have and things like that. It's really nice.
Yeah, that I feel like you were able to do that in a indirect way, I suppose. One of the streams that I remember really vividly, actually, of yours is the geolocator streams, where it's people walking around, sort of recording their surroundings, and usually these happen in cities, but every so often you have them in these really rural areas where it's either out in the mountains or fields, and you see cows and all this just different nature. And even if you're not able to be there yourself, that's sort of a different way, and then finding out, all right, where is this? And maybe that could be something for you. Of obviously, safety first, don't dox yourself, but if this is you going out into the countryside that is not your normal city anyways, that
Mm.
maybe recording a little bit could be a thing. And that I assume that in certain areas, it's not practical to actually actively stream that, but it could be a thing afterwards of, hey chat, let's, go on the walk that I went on last week. And who knows? But even if not, like you said, country air, rural air absolutely has a different smell to it. And just, it's a really different environment, especially for people who grow up in cities. It's a very eye-opening experience. That I grew up in a suburban area, so not really a city, but certainly not rural. And I remember one of the first times that I drove with my family, like 45 minutes to an hour or so, and went to a small mountain that was near where I grew up. And getting to that peak, because it doesn't take too long. It's not a huge one, but looking out and just seeing the distance, seeing the trees, the different smells, sights, sounds, and obviously watch out for wild animals, but it's a really different thing. And even you can't get it quite the same when it's virtual. Virtual's better than nothing, but if you have the chance to go out and do stuff like that, it really is very special if you're able to find those places.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that I enjoy about it a lot is just the fact that it distracts me from everything else. Because a lot of the times as well, when I am in the countryside, I won't get much signal on my phone, for example. So it helps me to kind of leave that away and
Yeah, you're
just don't look
forcibly
at it.
disconnected.
Yeah, and I think as well as that, sometimes you can find some really nice places. Like the other time, I was able to find a strawberry farm and did some strawberry picking. So
Ooh.
stuff like that is like really, really nice to kind of just discover things that you've never really seen before as well.
Yeah, that's the best of just, finding local farms, and you're probably going to pay a little bit, but you get what you pay for. And just farm fresh produce, it's it almost feels cliche to say, but yeah, it does taste different. And especially when you're able to go out and just see these, and especially since usually the places that do these are independently owned, that it's done by the farmers, that you're not going to see, a giant, you're not going to see Walmart farms where you can go pick your own strawberries. That
Mm.
it's usually a family owned type of thing, or if it's a business, that it is going to be a much, much smaller one.
Yeah, for sure. But it's always a really good experience. Always.
Yeah. Are there any places that you really want to visit, even if it's not in the UK, that you say, I've seen pictures or videos of this place and I think it would be incredible to go and see this thing?
Definitely. I do want to go to Canada for sure because I know that they have a lot of um like forests or rural areas that you can explore, and I know that they're pretty big too, whereas in the UK they're quite restricted. But that would be really nice to explore. But also I do want to go to Japan as well. Completely different to countryside, but I really want to experience the different cafes that they have there, kind of themed after animes and things like that.
Ooh, yeah, we do not get those types of, pop-up cafes, those branded cafes here in the US either. Certainly that'd be one that, definitely hope to get to Japan sometime. I feel like it's sort of most people who are into anime and just, nerdy culture, even if you aren't into anime in particular, that Japan and just Tokyo in particular and Shinjuku have so much culture. And but like you mentioned, obviously there's Canada as well, and there's a lot of really unique stuff there. And hopefully we're gonna get back to being able to have international travel soon.
I hope so too. I'm really hoping for summer, but we'll have to see about that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any particular sites in Canada that are high up on your list? Because, like you said, there's a lot in Canada. Canada's really big. That very little of Canada statistically is populated because so much of it is, undeveloped. That a lot of it is very, very cold, a lot of snow, but at the same time, you can get these just spectacular views of nature. And that I've seen videos of content creators going, like south to north through Canada, going through all these small towns and really experiencing the different locales. And there is a lot there that isn't, I suppose, in the public awareness as much as things like Tokyo and the stuff that you might have more stereotypically here in the US or over in the UK.
There's nothing particularly in mind, but I do know that I want to explore as much as I can of the place. I am thinking eventually to move there. It won't happen anytime soon, probably be like 5-10 years, but just being able to go there and experience it before I go would be really nice.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I've never actually had the opportunity to go to the UK myself. Several members of my family have. My sister actually had sort of an internship there, and it was cool seeing her photos. And, uh, you know, like I said, travel has been difficult the past couple of years, but hopefully we'll get back to a point where that's a bit more viable. But I definitely can relate in just the desire to travel, to see new things, experience new things, and especially when they can be honestly drastically different from what you experience just in your day-to-day life, going from city to rural or vice versa, and being able to see all these different natural wonders. Cliche as it may sound, that you know there's a reason that cliches are cliches, and that there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah, for sure. I really hope that we can travel within this next year, even if it's not in summer. Maybe perhaps for winter. I would like to do that.
Mhm. You mentioned when we were talking earlier this week, exercise in particular, and is that just sort of a catch-all for things like hiking and walking around, or do you actually have a workout regimen that you try to keep to, even if you haven't been able to lately?
I like to do HIIT workouts. I know I've talked about these before. It's like high intensity training. So you work out for like a minute and then you get like a 20-second rest or something like that, and then another minute and then a
Mm,
20-second rest. And they do feel like repetitive breaks. when you're first starting out, but at the same time, it's like you need those breaks. I don't know really how to explain it apart from the fact that it's very intense. And after you work out and do like 20 minutes or half an hour of this kind of workout, it's very, very rewarding. And you kind of feel like, yes, I finished this. I was able to do this today. And now I feel 10 times stronger than when I was before I did this workout. It's just one of those routines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely one of the more difficult things for VTubers right now, that IRL streamers are able to do stuff like that a lot easier. But who knows, maybe that will be something that as technology progresses, that even if you're not able to do one-to-one tracking, that you'll be able to potentially have more than what you would have right now, which would probably just constitute your model sort of swaying around a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't mind doing some workout streams at all. That would be pretty interesting.
We Fit Stream 1, or not We Fit, Ring Fit, We Fit was a long time ago.
Some Ring
Gosh.
Fit streams before, and there was some interesting stuff in chat.
I feel like that kind of comes with the territory of Ring Fit. I'm sure it was nothing you in particular did, but you're not wrong when you said that sometimes things can happen and chat will probably be the clowns that they are.
Always clowning, just always.
I do appreciate that you actually have a clown emote.
It's appropriate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you actually just recently got the animated ones, which I and others in chat have been using quite frequently.
They're really, really good. I'm really happy that I was able to work with Monomon and Subbooth for those. They did a really, really good job. Especially the animations. They're very, very smooth. Super duper smooth.
Yeah, like the pop one in particular, you just see, and it's like it's so cool seeing emote artists at work and the things that they've been able to do with those, because, that's one more thing this year in terms of technology advancement, that this time last year, we only had static emotes, and now animated ones are this whole thing. And, you have your wigglies, you have your jamming, you have popping, and all these new different ones that are just so much more fun to use and to see in chat than the static ones.
Yeah, I really am appreciative of Twitch adding these as like an option, because I know they were a demand for a while, but to finally have them as part of the platform, it's really, really rewarding for subscribers and creators alike.
For sure, for sure. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the timer and we're like at 2.5 hours already. Time flies, holy cow. So I'm gonna do something that might be ill-advised. Chat, if you have anything that you would like to ask, you can ask. I'm not promising that I will ask what you ask, but if you want a chance, here's your chance. I'm giving you your chance. Terrible idea, I know, letting the clowns run the circus, but let's see what they have, if they have anything. But while they think of their own questions, we talked a little bit about some of your streaming plans for next year, and you mentioned moving to YouTube. You mentioned you're also looking into Bilibili.
Yes. It's actually quite surprising to me when I heard about Bilibili and me being on there. When I first saw it, it was about 2 pages or less than that. And now if you look onto Bilibili, there's about 14 pages of my stuff. So it's really, really surprising. And I'm really looking forward to being able to stream on Bilibili. I've never sort of used the platform before, maybe once or twice to kind of watch something that I've seen or something like that, but not fully in depth. So it's really nice to have the opportunity to be able to have my own account on Bilibili and be able to stream there. And I'm really looking forward to kind of what audience that will bring along, and I hope that they're looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, we have a couple things in the chat asking about you responding to allegations regarding the pain and suffering and not feeding of mods. Will she admit that she has a harem in her castle? We need answers. Playwriter asking the hard-hitting questions here. I think we all know the answers to that one. She doesn't need to answer those.
There's no basis.
Congratulations, that one actually caught me off guard. Matt Triss asks a interesting one. Is there a game from your childhood that you would want to see polished or remastered to modern standards?
Ooh, I know that there have been games that have been modded to be that way. Like, for example, Need for Speed Underground 2. It already has mods that modernize it. But I think in terms of games that I would want to be remade and repolished, this is gonna sound really bad. Finding Nemo. I want a remaster of Finding Nemo.
Well,
when are we getting it?
Hold on. So obviously I've seen the movie Finding Nemo. I've never played any of the Finding Nemo games. I assume that they made ones for, at that point it must have been like the Game Boy Advance and maybe GameCube. I'm trying to think exactly where that would line up in terms of consoles, but you'll usually get movie games, just it's part of the marketing and part of the merchandising. Which system had a Finding Nemo game that was so good that you want to see it remastered?
PS2, and it was my first ever game, so it's really dear to my heart. That's why I would want that.
At least I was in the right generation thinking GameCube, so I was close. Obviously, you mentioned it being your very first game, so there's definitely the nostalgia factor there. Do you recall anything specific about the gameplay or the level design of what really hooked you? Because obviously it had to do something right of it, that becomes your jumping off point for getting into more games, so you had to enjoy it. What was it about this Finding Nemo game?
I think the fact that it was able to kind of involve you with the movie, the fact that they kind of replicated scenes but made them playable, such as, for example, the turtle scene where there's the kind of I don't know what they call it. It's like the water part where you can go really fast.
Yeah, the current.
Yeah. They kind of emulated that in a way that was actually playable, and also running away from the shark at the beginning and stuff like that. It was really nice to kind of have involvement in the storyline, and I really want that to be something that's kind of polished. I don't think they'd ever do it that.
Yeah, obviously Finding Nemo was a very successful movie for Pixar. They even had Finding Dory a couple years ago, but while that one may stand out to you, I don't think that the Finding Nemo game for PS2 was critically acclaimed enough to get a remake in the year of 2022 or any time in the future.
Hopefully there'll be a Finding Dory one. Who knows?
My guess is there probably was. It would probably... Actually, I don't know, because I feel like those types of game adaptations of movies have become less common, but now I'm curious. One sec, I'm gonna Google, was there a Finding Dory game?
There probably wasn't, but it would be interesting to see some more water type games, like stuff to do with the ocean and things like that.
And you are nothing if not consistent, because this also fits with your enjoyment of Assassin's Creed Black Flag and just seafaring. So I guess is the ocean in particular for you just a area of interest, that marine biology and the like? Is that something that did that ever appeal to you even as a field of study? Maybe
not particularly in a field of study, although I do find it interesting in general, because we don't know much about the ocean. We just don't know enough. So it's interesting to kind of explore it in your own terms in video games and stuff like that, and learn what you can within the games, have your own kind of knowledge of the ocean, but at the same time still knowing that we still don't know.
For sure, yeah. And that there's the Mariana Trench goes leagues and leagues and leagues deep, and we've only been able to actually get footage of a fraction of it. That there's just this entire ecosystem which we presume exists, and even if it doesn't, that's a discovery in and of itself, but that literally, due to water pressure, we have not been able to fully develop technology that can survive at the depth. So there is just this unknown box of the planet that we can't see. By the way, I've missed a couple of follows. Deck of the Tree, It's Guga, Little Dragon Wing, and Clay Rider. Thank you for the follows. Odd Leisure asks, what is the best piece of advice you have received?
Oh, best piece of advice. Probably something from secondary school, huh? I think the best piece of advice actually that I got was from a friend. They kind of told me to worry about myself rather than worrying about other people. And it doesn't mean it in a kind of rude way, but it was more of, I always used to kind of overthink things. I would kind of always just think about how my actions affected other people, and not in like a sense of like something I said was rude or something like that. It would be something as simple as, I picked up this fork, oh no, it might have belonged to someone else, what do I do now? So I have to think about myself. There has been situations where I kind of didn't do that, like for example the calculator in the maths exam that I didn't ask for, and I failed.
Oh no.
I was able to retake it though, it's fine. But
Okay.
it was just that kind of situation where I worried more about how it would look if I put my hand up and things like that. It's like, just don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Clay Ryder asks, what's a goal you've achieved or are close to achieving that was just a dream or that you thought was unrealistic when you started VTubing?
Oh god, I guess recently we hit 25,000 followers.
You
right?
did,
On
yeah. That was just the other day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just that number of people, it's absolutely insane. I didn't think that we'd ever reach something like that. When I first started VTubing, I thought it would just be like a hobby, like something I would just do on the side, because with lockdown and everything, you know, it's something that's just, yeah, I could do it and it seems like fun, why not? And now we're here where I'm doing it full time and hitting 25,000 followers. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
It's absolutely insane that we got there, and it hasn't even been 2 years yet. So that's absolutely insane. And I really thank you guys for that.
Yeah. Meme Strina asks, what is one of the streams that you've enjoyed most this year?
Oh god. Most fun stream.
Or even just one of?
Probably the Kuji one, actually. Kuji is like a lottery stream. But every lottery ticket wins something. Just a matter of what prize you win. And I think that was a really fun stream. It was like a collaborative stream between me and Shirahiko. And just being able to see chat's reactions to people's results with that lottery, it was very, very interesting, and it was super duper fun. I really enjoyed that.
Do you recall what each of you won?
It was in terms of the chat bought tickets and then they got stuff. I know that there was
okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was thinking that this was where you and Shirihiko had bought tickets to, you know, some company's Kuji thing, and were doing something that was won, but this was you organizing and executing a Kuji for your chat, for your community. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I think that's one of the things that I achieved last year that was something that's never been done before, and I really enjoyed that a lot. It was super duper fun, and just being able to see what kind of things you guys want is really, really fun, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, that could be cool. That don't know when that was exactly, but that must have been before I found you, or it might have been one of the streams that I wasn't able to tune into, because that sounds really unique, really fun. And Shirihiko obviously was one of my prior guests. That she was actually earlier on in the year. That I think she had to have been in my first 20 shows. And she's an absolute delight. And I don't know if she is up and about right now, but when we confirmed that we were going to be doing this, I sent her a DM on Discord, and I was like, just so you know, she's going to be on the show.
She was super duper funny. I really enjoy her company a lot, and a lot of the times she says stuff to me, sometimes in DMs without context, and I'm like,
Oh
what's
my
going on?
gosh.
And then she'll send me the context, and I'll be like, oh. Sometimes it's like it's super funny out of context, but I like that.
Yeah, and I see several people in chat spamming some of Shira's emotes. Very, very nice, very fun. I do like her dab one. So the Kuji one, that's really interesting. Do you have, if you were to do that again, is there anything in particular you would change?
Maybe sort of the way that I kind of divided the prizes, because I know there was a little bit of a mess up in terms of the art boards. It was kind of confusing because I looked through the art boards, and I thought all of them had 3 each, but when I looked through them, some of them had 3 and some of them only had 2. So next time I think I will make sure to physically divide everything so I know exactly how much of each one there is.
Yeah.
That was the only confusing part.
Yeah, I can imagine of how many tickets were bought in the end. So how many prizes did you end up giving away?
I think there was 80 altogether.
That's a fair bit, and just being able to coordinate all that and be like, okay, I need to make sure that all these things get out is a lot of work, frankly.
It was super rewarding, though. I think the reward afterwards of just being able to host something like this that's never been done before, but also being able to kind of put smiles on people's faces that they were able to win something, and they guaranteed know that they would get something. I think that was really worth it.
Yeah, their very own gotcha roll guarantee banner.
Definitely.
Heck, maybe that's part of why you enjoyed that. It's, basically you putting on your own gotcha, so it all sort of comes back together there.
Gacha addiction, safe strong.
Hey, it's not an addiction if it becomes your content. There you go. But it's definitely clear that chat enjoyed that as well. So hopefully we'll end up seeing that again in some shape or form.
I know I have been planning some, and hopefully we can do another one soon.
Mattress has one other. Is there any particular magical or interesting thing about British culture that those of us scattered across the world don't see or recognize? That obviously there are certain stereotypes. Some stereotypes are more founded than others, but obviously every culture has nuance, has things beneath the surface that don't become things that they are particularly known for, but that if you are in that community or from that area, that it is a commonly known thing and that it's something really special. So is there anything of that nature that really comes to mind for you?
Honestly, I think there's quite a few things, and they're like really small things you wouldn't really think about, such as when you're walking down the street and then people will move out of the way for you. And sometimes there will be that moment where you are both trying to move out of the way of each other, but you're kind of going in the same direction.
Oh yeah, the awkward little both go left, both go right, and it's just like, all right, who's going to not move that way? We can both go because we're trying to be considerate, but we've actually just impeded each other.
Yeah, there's stuff like that happens, but there's also moments where you will walk into a building or something like that, and then someone will hold the door open for you. It's just like a natural thing where you would just always do that. It doesn't matter what gender you are or anything like that. Just always, if you know someone's behind you and they're coming into the same building, just hold the door open until they come in. Yeah.
Yeah. Just those small little gestures, those small niceties, and you hear about that in various cultures, various areas, that there's in the US the concept of Southern hospitality, of people in the South being very accommodating and come on in y'all type of thing, and that there's it isn't necessarily something that is super stereotypical per se in British culture, but that it obviously is definitely a thing there, and that for those who live in the area, that you see that, you're aware of that, and it's something that you really appreciate, even if it's not something that people inherently think of when they think of where you're from. That for me, so I live in Texas now, but I grew up in a state called Maryland, which is on the east shore of the United States. Um, it is one of the smallest states in the U.S., but it has a lot of diversity and variety of. It has some really big cities. One of the big ones being Baltimore. It's right up against Washington D.C. The state of Maryland, that is, not the city of Baltimore. But then you also have, when it's on the shoreline, that's a really rural area. But then you have suburbs and other smaller cities dotted about. The things that Maryland as a state is most stereotypically known for is, one, its flag. It has this super loud red, white, black, and gold flag, which we put on everything. It's a meme unto itself now that we will wear shirts with the flag, that we will have sunglasses with the flag, that, think of all the things that people stereotypically put the American flag on, just, the red, white, and blue on. People in Maryland will do that with the state flag, but more. And there are very few states that actually have a flag like that. And I will fully say that that is, in the past several years in particular, an entirely true stereotype. That it's a thing that has become sort of a trend and a local pride thing because, yeah, I'll say it, we have the best flag out of all 50 states. That some of these ones have just, really simple designs, but ours is really cool and fun and it looks good on stuff.
It must be true if it's on everything, right?
Yep. I guess part of it also is, since it's, public domain, people are able to make merchandise and they don't need to worry about copyright infringement. But, like for me, in terms of less known things, that part of it is just the fact that Maryland is so diverse that sometimes people will really just think about Baltimore, or people will just think about a couple more known areas or think of it as part of DC. But in actuality, in this very small state, you have so many different locales, a lot of different things in terms of nature. Like I said, that there are some small mountains. It's not, the Rocky Mountains or anything. It's not huge, but that you're able to get these different types of experiences and scenery in such a small area. And that's something that I feel like not as many people are aware of or are able to really appreciate unless they see it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things I like about America is just the scenery. It looks so nice all the time. I don't know how you do it. How do
Oh,
you
no,
do
no,
that?
no. It does not look nice all the time. It's just that it's big enough that somewhere in the US looks nice all the time.
It's close enough, I guess.
And if it's the summer, well, Texas will look good in pictures, but if you're outside in Texas summer, you're going to have a bad time. That it's better in pictures in some ways than it can be in real life. But, winters in like Boston and whatnot can be just super beautiful because it's really snowy and wintry up there, and that's cool. A little bit inconvenient at times, but it has its own thing. Meanwhile, California is California, and there's a lot of different stuff for sure.
Big contrast between the states.
One sec, doing a quick little glance through chat. And as I glance down at the timer, that we're already almost at 3 hours now, and time just keeps flying. So I don't want to keep you too much. That obviously, it's going to be New Year's, so I want you to be able to take time and celebrate, even if that is just, playing Apex, hanging out with some friends. That I hope that you and I hope that everyone in chat has a happy, safe, healthy New Year. Spend it with people, whether it be virtually, in person. Do what you can. Enjoy the time. Reflect a bit. Think about the future. Like I said at the top of the show, you made it here. Regardless of what type of roller coaster you have gone through in this past year, you are here now, so you have made it. And we all hope for, even if you had the best year ever, hopefully next year is going to be even better. If this was the worst year, hopefully it gets better. And, that's about all we can do, is hope and do what you can to create the circumstance that makes a better year for you. But, sometimes circumstances are out of your control. So hope where you can and take actions when you can and do what is best for you. Like Shizu said, that sometimes you just have to consider yourself, consider your circumstance, and obviously never try to do harm, but sometimes you have to look out for yourself and do that. So as we wrap up, what is your proudest achievement of 2021? Is there anything that you look back and say, I did this and it took a while, and whether it be VTubing or otherwise, obviously, don't dox yourself, nothing super personal, but what is your proudest achievement of this year that you are comfortable and excited to share?
I talked about it earlier, but I definitely think beating Sekiro was the proudest achievement.
Oh, congratulations, Sekiro, that you get the prize of being the proudest achievement. You also get the prize of eternal hatred.
It's a love-hate relationship. It's fine.
We've talked a fair bit about your aspirations for next year, and obviously you already have some plans that talking about actions that you want to take and things that you want to do. Is there any single thing, and it could be something that you've already discussed or something that you haven't, that you have as a particular goal for 2022?
I'm hoping eventually, 2022. I believe in you, chat. I think we could hit 50,000 followers on Twitch. I think we could do that the next year. I think it's possible, and then we could get like a 3D model,
Ooh, yeah, and like 50K, that's a great goal. 3D model, really cool. That as we were discussing for all those different types of technology, that 3D, obviously, it's literally a whole new dimension. And the things that you can do with that at your disposal as a content creator, it makes a big difference for sure. So I know that I am cheering for you. I know that Chad is cheering for you. The clowns that we all may be, and I count myself among them. I am a proud clown that, we do want to see you succeed. And even if we clown around and give you a bit of flack and tease a little bit, that it's very clear that your community does genuinely care and that they want you to succeed. Even if they want you to die 420 times sometimes in Ori and the Blind Forest, that doesn't mean they don't want you to succeed in the end.
Yeah, I gotta say, they're big tsunderes. They are.
Ooh, great term there. Yes, Chad is tsundere, yes.
towards me on stream, but then privately they're like, "Oh my God, Shizu, we love you."
Yeah, and that's really good, and it's clear that obviously it goes both ways. That you call them clowns, you call them out on stuff, you yell at them, but it's clear that it's all done in good fun, in good humor, because obviously, one, you as the streamer have the power that you can just straight up ban people that go too far, and that's one of the good things about technology, that you don't need to worry about physically removing somebody from your space. You can just click that ban button, they are gone. But that you very much embraced the chaos and the clownery of your chat and feed into it, and that's one of the things I think you do very well. Of you egg them on for sure, that you know what they're doing, you enable it because it's part of the community, it's part of your own sort of brand at this point, of just being able to have that type of fun. And most of the time it is that unspoken of, we know where the line is, and that you find that tasteful balance. And that's something that takes time to figure out, both as a content creator and as people in the community, of, all right, what is okay, what is acceptable, because everyone's taste and tolerance as community members and as content creators is going to be a little bit different. That there's some obvious things of, don't cross that line, that's stupid. But finding that good balance takes time, and I think you've found it. And with 25,000 clowns and hopefully 50,000 in the future, I'm really looking forward to seeing this little clown army grow.
It's quite insane, actually, because when I first started out, I used to get very annoyed if anyone tried to say anything to me that was mean. But now I'm just like, okay, I know what you're trying to do. I see that. I just take it very casually, and I do understand that the chat knows where the line is as well, and it's really nice to have a community that's so embedded too, because sometimes there will be new people that come into the chat and they say, hello, I'm new here, or something like that, and immediately the members of chat that are very regular, they will invite this person in straight away and like use commands like hug and lick and stuff like that, and
We
they're
somehow
really
went the
like
whole
embedded.
stream without getting to the lick command. I feel like I've failed as a host for failing to bring that up, but thank you for reminding me.
The lick command was a mistake. No, I'm joking. Byaku, my mod, he added this command because he used to use the lick emotes a lot, the canon ones, and because of that, we added a command, and surprisingly, it's the most popular command. We have a hug one that people forget about, and it's actually lick has been used 10 times more. So it's
Everyone
insane.
has a hug command. Those are pretty common, but it takes a special streamer to have a lick command.
Sometimes you'll have someone new and they'll get licked and they'll be like, "What the heck? You licked me! You licked me! That's gross!" And eventually they just kind of give in and use it too.
Yes, yes. Join the licking clowns. And the last question is one I ask every guest I have on the show: what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but for you, Shizukou, what does it mean to be a VTuber? I've had all sorts of answers. Some people take it very clinically, very sort of unemotional of, it is a tool in my toolbox as a content creator. It is a mask that I wear in order to put on a show. Others have a very personal answer of, it lets me get in touch with my former child. It lets me be someone that I can't be in real life. And all of those answers are valid. That, for some people, that this is a career, it's a line of work, it's a business, and it's okay to say, this is an avatar, it is a tool that I use, and that's okay. But some people also have this really personal answer. So I'm very curious for you, Shizukou, what does it mean to be a VTuber?
I think being a VTuber comes with a lot of responsibility, and I think being a role model is very important. So I do try my best to have morals and things like that, but also as well as that, something a bit less serious, or maybe it's more serious, is just being able to kind of distract from real life problems and being able to kind of invite people to a new world, in a sense where you can come to my stream and just know that you're in a safe space and that you can just forget about anything that's been worrying you during the day, or maybe you've had a bad day, maybe you've had a good day, but you just come by and you kind of forget about anything that's happened to you, and you're just kind of vibing and chilling out in a safe space.
That definitely fits. And one of the reasons that I asked that question is because I never know how a guest will answer it. But every time, 47 times, when someone answers that question, it always makes sense for them. And it's cool seeing that obviously there's this diversity of personalities, diversity of content, but also the diversity of motivations. Sometimes it's something that people began VTubing looking for or looking to create or do, and sometimes it's just something that they found along the way and realize that it is what they want to do as a creator and how they want to cultivate their community and their content. And I think you have obviously done a stellar job. 25,000 people also agree. And like I said, I very much look forward to seeing where you go, where your content goes, where your community goes in 2022 and beyond. So thank you so much, Shizukou. Thank you, chat, for coming in. That it always makes my job easier as a host, frankly, when there is a fun and active and engaged chat to work with. That you all had a couple questions that I hadn't thought of that were really good ones, and that makes the experience better for me and makes it better for Shizu. So thank you for your participation as well. But Shizu, thank you for taking the time to be on my channel. That you could have done your own stream today, but you set time aside to be here, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was really nice to talk to you and learn more about you as well. So thank you so much.
It has been a joy, and thank you, Hello Kitty 11, for the follow. I have dropped her link a couple times in chat, and obviously Shizu's links are here at the bottom of the screen. Most of you are already following her, but for those who aren't, join the army of 25,000 clowns and growing every single day here on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube soon, on Bilibili soon, if you have access to those sites. So do be sure to check her out. I'm going to get those links in one more time, that there's the jacket as well. And whether you join her on Twitter, Twitch, what have you, that there is a lot more to learn about Shizu, that this is 3 hours, an incredible 3 hours to be sure. But obviously, this is just scratching the surface of all the wonderful things that you do and that you have to offer, Shizu. So thank you once again for, letting me sort of come in and share with your community and be able to get to know you a little bit better. But I know that obviously this is just the beginning for you, for your content, and that there is so much more to learn. And, it's been a great time. I hope that you have enjoyed yourself as well.
It was really fun. Thank you so much. I think you also kind of helped me in terms of like figuring out what I do as well, especially that last question. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Is there anything that you want to plug before we head out?
I don't think so.
And I suppose the last thing would be, is there anybody you want us to raid?
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, this is the one thing that we can never plan in advance because you never know who's going to be live or if they're still going to be live. So while Shizu is looking at potential raid targets, go on and spam a couple more emotes here in the chat. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Jay. This is Vtuber Talk. Like I said, this is episode number 47. I'm going to be off next week, but the week after that is actually going to be my first anniversary stream, and I'm going to be doing a 2-day total 24-hour charity marathon. It's going to be 12 hours on Saturday, January 15th, 12 hours on January 16th, and all of the money raised is going to go to support Child's Play Charity, which is a fantastic organization that gets games and toys to children in hospitals and domestic violence shelters. So do tune into that. You can follow me here on Twitch and Twitter if you are so inclined. I hope you'll join me for more shows in the future for the charity stream. It's always going to be a good time, and I always love seeing people come back. Thank you, obviously, for coming along for this ride, following Shizukou off her own channel. That it's really cool being able to get the chat that I have been a part of, because like I said, I make it a point to invite people only if I know them and their community. So I've been looking forward to seeing Shizukou, but also to seeing you all in the chat. So thanks for showing up. I do appreciate it. Shizu, any good raid targets you see?
Yeah, I think Kuririn Games is a good one.
All right, if you could send that to me in Discord just so I get the right spelling of it. Oh, you already got it. Kuririn Games. All right, so I'm going to line that up. We're going to play the outro, but then I will get you all sent along. Be sure to spam lots of Shizu's emotes. Give Kuririn all the love that you have given us. Have a happy, safe, healthy new year. I can't wait to see you all in the chat. Can't wait to see you later on, Shizukou. So happy new year. See you all in 2022, everybody.
Happy New Year!